Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are here to talk about Valentine Fantasy's re-release, the airs that came out with it, as well as some specific evos. And we are also going to be talking about Good Fortune Rabbit, which came out a little while ago, but we didn't get a chance to discuss that content back then. So joining me today is the usual, Irby.
Hello.
Hello, good to hear you again. Salgus.
Hello.
Hi. And Pilk, Housamo.
Hello.
It was very theatric to me.
Sorry.
All good. But yeah, we're going to be starting off with the Transients that came out during the New Year event, which is going to be covered by Zalgus. So go ahead.
Sorry, I was putting something down. Right, so Inaba. He is our first rabbit summoner, so very unusual to get a New Year's unit. We haven't had that since Golden Burst, which was like 2 years ago. So that's, or no, 3 years ago even. Or no, was it 2 years ago?
It was 4 years ago.
Was it
4 years ago?
God.
4 years ago, yes.
Yeah.
Tiger,
It's been
Ox,
pretty
Rat.
long.
Oh yeah, I forgot Rat. Tiger, Ox, Rat, and then Boar. Yeah, so yeah, we haven't had a New Year's unit for 4 years, and now we have Inaba, which is good because we didn't have a rabbit. I guess rats have no rights in that regard. Anyway, so Inaba is kind of a general support, I would say. He does a bit of everything except for actual defensive buffs, but I'll go over that. So when he appears, he bestows Friendship Strengthening to the entire board permanently. It's a 500 HP heal per turn as long as you have Friendship. Now, Friendship is generally the most useful relationship bonus. It's a 10% skill rate as long as you have it. So making it better is great. It's obviously limited in application because you have to have units who actually like each other or like other units. It can be nice when it works out with the team combat. I wouldn't really build around it because, well, for one thing, a lot of the time they're usually one-way likes. So, like, if you look at Inaba's chart right there, he likes Agio, but Agio doesn't like him. They are usually something like that, or else one likes the other and the other has no buff with them. So, will be unlikely to get like a full team of people who actually like each other. But when it works, it works. Resistance to confusion is nice because confusion's annoying. So immunity to it can be nice, but whatever. Face start regeneration and guts to self, and also guts to allies one square around. Guts is good, so nothing much to say there. Now, on turn start, he inflicts Charm in a shot range at a 50% rate. This is the same as Halloween Tsukuyomi, who has a 60% shot range Charm on turn start. So obviously constant application of Charm is good, because it's a powerful disabling effect to get 2 free turns. As far as rates go, Inaba at 50% is around the middle of the pack of actually good Charm units. There are some units like Bathim and Ulaanbaatar who are at 70%. Ban Typhon is at 40%, and Halloween Tsukuyomi is at 60%, etc., etc. There are a few with poop rates like Shinya. Well, I forget if his Evo actually improves that. But yeah, 50% is definitely a serviceable rate. It's decent enough that you can make use of it. And since it's turn start, if you really want to, you can re-roll it. But either way, it's easy to play around since you'll know if it went off or not. Before you move, that is. Grants Blessing and Ardor. Turn start to allies adjacent at the end of the move phase. So this is notable for being one of the free units who actually gives an attack buff. The only other free unit who gives an attack buff is Astaroth. There's a few mobs who do it, but if we're just going by the free named units, it's just Astaroth who gives attack up. And I guess Ryota who gives nourishment, but nourishment is mediocre. Anyway, the rate is kind of mediocre at 80%. Well, it's not mediocre. It's just kind of annoying because it's more than skill seed bait, because you can't get it to 100% alone, but it's got one of the better skill trigger timings, since as a move phase end, it means the attack buff will always be active before anyone attacks if it procs. So if you wanted to use him as support slot, for example, the blessing's fine, since it just means a constant uptime of healing. CP drain and obstruct on enemies he attacks. The CP drain's nice, the obstruct is next to useless because no one relies on a minus 15% skill rate. And then after buff, CP to self and 8 CP to allies all around. Now 70% on the ally rate is not the highest around for this recent trend of after buff CP to allies. Jamori, Kagutsuchi, and Jormungandr have 80% for 12 and 10 CP respectively. Kagutsuchi to self, left and right, and Jormungandr to self and adjacent. Ulaanbaatar does self and adjacent allies, but he's only at a 60% rate, so kind of shit. But so to compare, Inaba has the highest rate of CP to self and 90% and 12 per buff, so he charges himself the fastest, basically. Halloween Tsukuyomi also does CP to self after buff, but it's 10 CP at 80%. His ally CP rate has a lower activation rate and gives less CP at 8 CP and 70 rate, but the range is bigger since he has it all around instead of adjacent. So that could actually be a factor to consider, because it's much more flexible to play around. You don't have to be adjacent to him. His CS is paralysis to enemies hit, 500 HP to self, and allies in a...
You gotta
say that again. Sorry, I just wrote my notes in a bad way. His CS inflicts paralysis to enemies hit and gives 500 HP to self and allies in a 2-square cross range, and also glint to self. Oh, you didn't actually correct the image.
Well, you can correct it in chat right now.
Right, so in the image there, and on the wiki, it says that he applies glint to self and allies, but it also doesn't actually say the range of allies that it affects. The reason for this is because that's wrong. It actually only applies glint to self. It actually says this in game, and I did test this. Aaron theorizes that they set something or other. Do you want to say it? Because I forget what you said.
Sure. I think that you might actually not remember what I said, but the idea is that I believe they set the code in game so that it targets allies. So it should target allies. It's just that they forgot to specify a range for glint as well. So it's essentially just giving glint at a range of 0 to like allies. But yeah, effectively that just means that's a dead part, and he only gives glint to self.
A shame it doesn't glint to the entire board, but oh well. So since he's a free unit, this Sacred Artifact should really always be maxed, since it's just so easy to get. So I will be taking this as if it were maxed. Paralysis is always a strong effect. It's a very long immobilization and a damage down, and SA 100 means a full 0.45 times damage down multiplier. The heal has a rather unusual range, but either way it can be fairly decent at a max heal of 2,500 if you hit 5 enemies. I don't really know if the 2-square cross is that useful, because the rest of Inaba's kit really wants people to be either around or adjacent to him, so the units like in that far away square won't be getting the rest of his buff, so don't really know how useful that is, but whatever. The glint self is always good. It also jump starts his CP again, since he'll trigger his after buff CP to self, although it's not guaranteed since it doesn't apply the 10% boost to itself, if you will. With SA 100 and no buffs, the CS itself deals 7.3k, so it's not particularly noteworthy damage-wise. So yeah, he provides a lot of general support, like I said. He does a bit of everything, and he can largely be left alone to throw out Blessing, Honor, and Charms, without really too much maintenance. If you plan to play around his after buff CP, he requires a bit more thought then, because you want to be maximizing the amount of buffs he gets. He gives himself no natural buffs after a phase start, besides CSing. So you're going to need someone who can assist him to actually charge a CS quickly. Whether it's worth it or not to bank on that is questionable, since you could just as easily bring someone who could just, inflict a stunning effect without the CS. But for charging other people's CSs, the range is nice, but the lower amount that it gives is actually a rather important flaw. Because it only gives 8 CP per proc, you would need 13 buffs to guarantee an ally's CS, assuming you got every single proc off. This is from 0 CP. Compare this to Kagutsuchi, who requires 9 buffs, or Jormungandr's 10 buffs. And also of note is that Kagutsuchi gives arousal, and Jormungandr himself just constantly gives himself buffs. So he's a much better standalone battery, but Inaba he absolutely has to rely on someone else to provide him the buffs. So as a buff-based CP battery, Inaba is definitely usable, but he's a lot harder to make use of than Kagutsuchi and Jormungandr, and I guess Ulaanbaatar, but his rate kind of sucks. Still, he has the advantage of being a free unit, and if anything, I would say honestly the passive Ardor spam is nice to have anyway, just because you don't have to move him or have him attack or whatever. As for AR synergies, the Kool-Aid AIs for Glint's always good. He himself would like the Oath of Binding AR for Prayer to Self to patch up his rates, of course. And that's pretty much all I wrote, because I couldn't be bothered to think of things for him. But yes, that's about it. He's alright. I mean, he's a free unit, so I don't expect the best, but he's perfectly usable. He's no Citri or Zhao. Yeah,
I mean, hey, Zhao has his uses, but and Erta did use Citri primarily for his own run.
I guess, but if you really wanted to do that, you could just use Marco.
I suppose. Any other thoughts on this milk, Irby?
No thoughts. That empty.
The rabbit of still questionable age. Actually, like this unit. That's not really unexpected because he's a CP battery. Free paralysis is nice too. That's kind of rare, and it's nice to have on a mob. So I don't particularly mind getting a welfare unit that has easy access to it. Yeah, I kind of like that he doesn't have like the common one-turn buffs that you would need for after buff stuff, because that's sort of fun to play around. I would also keep in mind though that there's like this sort of like CP overflow, so like estimates such as like 13 buffs aren't particularly accurate because you get like some extra 1 and 2 CP for every after buff, because the ways the game calculates CP is pretty weird. There's some RNG to it.
Yeah, the CP you see there is the minimum you get, and then you get some overflow that's dependent on your initial base amount you just got.
Yeah, it's around like 10 to 20% of like whatever you got. It's more like 50%.
Wait, did I say 13? I meant 12. My mistake. Yes. Inaba needs 12 buffs, assuming he low rolls every buff, which is unlikely, but yeah.
But yeah, it would be nice if you paired him with like, people who had like protection, tenacity, arousal. Yeah. And as everybody could tell from the farming quest, he makes everything slower. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put him in the sub slots and decided to not use him at all as a support because that was very annoying.
I actually doubled down on it because he was too weak to clear his own column. I brought my own Inaba and put him beside him so that they'll give each other order. And he actually does give a shitload of CP if he's right beside himself like that. Because he does give quite a few buffs to allies too.
Yeah.
On the bright side, at least you can make a team with Inaba, Jormungandr, and Jay Kagutsuchi, all giving each other a bunch of CP with a hyper buffer behind them.
The hidden tech.
There you go.
Yeah.
The hidden tech.
To be honest, it's like this like skill's like a 5-star skill for me. Like that's the only reason why I want to use Ulan for the most part. So it's kind of generous for LW to put it on Inaba. So yeah, I'll take it.
I do think this is pretty generous. Well, I don't know if it's generous, but it's nice that they're not, doing some 80% thing for his self CP. He actually does have the most reliable rate in the entire game for an after buff CP to self, and also the largest amount tied with units like Jiangxi Tetsuox. And if you actually decide to skill see him for a reason, that's guaranteed 12 CP for every buff. So you could actually possibly make some sort of a guaranteed every charge setup if you have a way to get that much one turn buffs every turn. And he would hit quite hard because he has full sacred artifact level with his thingy, and he could also equip the summoner's AR as usual. And paralysis is nice, of course. Well, if that's all our thoughts on this unit, you're free to read up the comments, Elkus.
Have you read any, or is it?
You can read them from the beginning. It's just a bunch of hellos if you want to start there.
Loading. Dab. Hi, Obi. Sup. Hello, guys. Hello. Yes, hello, Stream Element Spot. Arc is my little sunshine. I'm so glad to see she finally gets a skill. She? No. Yeah. Arc required a skill evo for all. Well, I don't know if they required a skill evo, but yeah, it's nice to have since they're not exactly the most powerful.
We'll get there when we get there.
Arc's so underrated his character. We've been in this hell we call a gacha for 6 years. Yeah. Wow, I can finally watch one of these. Hello, Erita. Hello. Don't know how long it's gonna take my cat to bed soon. Hello, Joe. Aren't you banned?
He was never banned. I don't know who kept saying he was mad. I timed him out several times, but he was never actually banned.
The cat's well. Yeah. Of course, there's a wiki bug the one time I joined a stream. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a bug since it might just be on.
It's more like a game code issue, but I guess he could write out an exception case where it doesn't show allies if it has no range. Don't know.
Life Wonders coding and hope they hotfix it like others. Yes, do a nice enough. I'll fix CS. Well, actually, I don't know if it is really intended like that. I mean, the in-game description says only glint to self, so that may have been their intention, and they just left the allies bit by accident. But whatever. I fixed CS and back a week later, like way later, and when I do refactoring. Okay, thank you, Erica. He's a good Bonoy. Main wiki fix will maybe happen if I get reminded about it. Not at 1 AM though. Sad.
Thanks for joining at this time.
Keep him away from Lenny, please. This isn't Of Mice and Men.
Oh no. That was an obscure reference.
It's not that obscure. Everyone gets
everyone knows if you say Of Mice and Men, but like, just saying Lenny out of nowhere, really?
Because he likes to pet the rabbits, George. Wish all of the good effects like charm and CP boost weren't at coin flip rates. Well, honestly, it's kind of to be expected. Partly because he's a free unit, but also because these days we never get anything that aren't what's it called? Skill seed bait or worse these days. But also having actually,
that's not true. Look at Christmas Fushi.
True. But yeah, having something like charm not to be coin flip and be guaranteed would be ridiculous. So it's not a surprise that it's only 50%. Like with charm, we generally at most we get like 70s, unless it's on some really...
Hijimuna.
Yes. Okay. I was gonna say about harder to use trigger rates, but
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, exiling him to the never using again pile for the crime of making farming event with Xmas Benten and Hote tedious thanks to CS spam. Yeah, that sounds about right. Same struggle, Inaba ARs. What did I say? I said Kool-Aid as usual. Oath of Binding is nice. He can equip quite a few of the good grinding ARs. So the leaked Melusine one for EXP, or the Arc Babylon one for is that one Seeds or Flowers or Blossoms?
Which one?
Arc Babylon.
That's Blossoms.
Right, yeah, you can equip that. Yeah, I don't really know what other ARs he could equip that are exceptionally useful. I mean, I guess you could equip him with like a CS power up one, because he does get his quite often. I wouldn't do that personally, but you could. Old equipable AR list, boo.
For the later content that we'll be covering, the skill evos, they're in the newer format. So Erta, I know this is like probably not the best place to talk about it, but please notice, the formatting of the edges of the crop I did. It was from some command that let me crop out the web element, and it doesn't seem to crop out properly for those later ones, unlike in the regular queue, which crops out fine here. Anyways, we'll get there when we get there, but no one else needs to know about this, so you can continue, Zagas.
I didn't have any good column clearers during the event, so I had to use Inaba. Yeah, I know a lot of people had to use Inaba. There weren't real... if you didn't have Ben 10 or Christmas Ben 10, or I guess Jamboree Moritaka like me, then you really had to resort to double Inaba. And yeah, that sounds like awful. Leonan found a bunny to take care of. I don't know why Leonan, but... Or I guess because Leonan gives a bunch of buffs. That sounds terrible, but I guess that would make his CS hit decently hard, because, I mean, it would make anyone's CS hit decently hard. Add Hot Springs Daikoku into the mix, and here's my struggle. Yeah, he was one of the viable column clearers, but he is also slow, and also skill seed bait, so he doesn't always kill Shiro and all that. It was so painful. I tried 4-star Argeo, kind of slow, and it worked out for you, but kind of slow, but replaced Argeo. Was that for grinding? Well, I guess he is short range, but I meant Inaba's list is missing the new ARs, lol.
Yeah, I took a screen cap of this during the New Year's event, and I haven't updated it since. I would have updated, but one of the ARs was still missing, and it was kind of annoying. You may have noticed too, the Arc Kirito AR was just not showing the icon, and I didn't want to deal with that until the last possible second. I actually had to do a manual crop of the full AR art for the thumbnail, but otherwise it still didn't load. But if that's it for Inaba, we can finally move on to the Evos, I think. So let's do that. We will now be talking about Arc, and this will be covered, I believe, by Makosmel, their skill Evo. So go ahead.
Yes. Arc gets a Skivo, and they boosted their Stigma range to the enemy they hit and the enemies adjacent to them. They also apply Blessing to enemies now, and they increase the Blessing advantage to 2 times from 1.6x. They also give Blessing to the ally in front of them. What's actually interesting about their new Skivo is this phase start board-wide application of this chance of bind after being hit. So it's very similar to Nyarlathotep's chance of madness before being hit. where they have an 80% chance of applying to every enemy on the board at phase start this 2-turn status, which makes enemies give themselves bind after being hit at a 60% rate. So basically any attack from your units will have a 60% chance of rolling for bind. So that's very nice because you can use this with all range nukers. This extends to CS users because this skill is a status on the enemy, so it's an enemy skill. So you can use people like Christine Perun or Pethuga, and you can use Summer Oz or Xmas Benton. You can also just use combo users or people with wide ranges in general, like Festival Licho or McCroy. And yeah, it's actually pretty consistent because even if you have like this chance of like 60%, it's somewhat comparable to other bind rates being like 70%ish or 80%.
It only gets as high as 64%. I did look at the list.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Isn't there like Kijimuna or something?
Oh, no, I was actually just talking about the ones that are after attacking or when attacking. Not,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also had skill lock because people don't really care about the attack down too much. I mean, it's useful, but yeah, most people just care about the skill lock part. But yeah, 60% is fairly like standard or comparable to other bind rates. So the fact that everybody can apply it now makes it pretty good. And yeah, there's actually, I didn't really have too much to say about this other than the fact that you can just now bind the whole board. I think their damage is still whatever, because even if you hit the Stigma and Blessing, I ran the calculation, it was like 5.5k because their snipe range. Oh yeah. So basically, since the Stigma range applies to the enemy behind as well, because it's this enemy's adjacent, they can actually take advantage of the Stigma if you hit an enemy in front, because usually their Stigma is after attacking, but since you also apply to the enemy behind, you can take advantage of the Stigma when attacking on the first attack. And this extra range is pretty nice because you can do a full 3x3 square. I wouldn't really care about their CS even if there's the Stigma advantage, because it's pretty hard to get their CS going because they have no CP gen. I'm a bit apprehensive about this new Blessing application because it somewhat conflicts with the nullify buff part of their kit. I don't think there should be any problem, but it's a bit weird. I think it's supposed to be some synergy with Babylon, but I don't particularly think that Babylon needs more Blessing application. And yeah, that's about it. They're a really good bind user now, so if you feel like you're in the situation of binding the entire board, then they might be your go-to unit. Otherwise, Arc's functionality, well, the Arc functionality that I generally use is still basically the same. That is like CB depletion for bosses. Yeah.
Yeah, just about. Is that it then? For you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts, Irby? Salkus?
I will say it's a shame that it's after being hit to bind, because it means obviously you can't like negate defensive reactionary buffs of like when being attacked. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily rely on that anyway because it's 60%, but I mean, the fact that it doesn't work to cancel those out kind of sucks, but I guess that may have been a bit too powerful if it was when being hit, or before being, or after before being hit.
Yeah. Very tragic skill evolution because the meme about Arc not having bind is over now.
Right, it was their AR giving bind resistance and them having chains that have the bind symbol.
We now have having the role of binding too, but no bind. This is tragic. The meme is over. Arc has bind now.
I mean,
Housamo died.
Technically, they don't have bind. They have, after being hit, apply bind to self. But yeah.
It still allows you to have bind team. That's what matters in the end.
Yeah, I guess. Well, if that's your thoughts, I can give my thoughts on it. I'm gonna echo Milk's sentiments in terms of their damage. It's not great, even with both Stigma and Blessing taking advantage of them. So they're not a comp clear, really. It's like more like a minor damage dealer at best with less than 10k, almost half of that. Even on charge, if you can get Stigma on everyone for whatever reason, which is unlikely, that's still like 16k DPS, 16,000 DPS. Damage per square, rather.
Yeah.
It's not amazing compared to a lot of other board clears. I guess it's okay for a 4-star, but there's no real way to get their charge. And in terms of being able to bind everyone, I feel like you could just use Oz with some other binders, like Kogan or Necros, which is at 64%, which is already higher than, you know, an 80% chance of 60% chance bind.
Probably would have been easier to skill lock with Miniaki with his adjacent skill locking.
I mean, I was looking at bind examples, but yeah, and there's a lot of other examples you can use between double lock and skill lock as well. Well, I guess you could also use combo in situations with Arc if you want to double roll for bind, but again, it's not great. It's a nice way compared to others, like using Oz to circumvent reflect debuff, at least, because since they apply to themselves, that can't be reflected back to you. They'll just be reflected back themselves. But that's the only really unique thing about Arc I can say that's actually beneficial with their new Evo. So I'm not super thrilled about this Evo. But it's something, I guess. Definitely not tickle damage anymore. It's just, you know, underwhelming damage now.
Yeah.
I think it
might
was
not.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look too impressive, but it's what was expected. I think Arc deserved the skill evolution, and even though this doesn't make them busted, it's there. It did help.
I feel like that was an underhanded compliment, but okay.
What?
I feel like that was an underhanded compliment, but okay.
What do you mean?
The phrase is backhanded.
Same thing. You know, just like saying Arc deserved this Evo. They deserve better. Come on.
Did they really deserve better, though?
Yes.
I mean,
like fucking
I would not,
River Shiva got an Evo that made him hyper relevant. And then it's not even Arc's variant that got an Evo, even though they definitely could have used one since their damage isn't great. It was a regular Arc, and it didn't even change the
agree, but it's a 4-star Evo. I mean, when was the last time we got a really completely game-changing 4-star
Licho.
Evo? Was it like Kalki or something?
And Licho.
Or something like that.
There's lots of good ones. Arc's is not one of them. It just looks interesting because it's board-wide bind, but in reality it's just like you have to hit them anyway, so it's... I don't know. You're not relying on any of this. The only reliable thing is Blessing, only if you skill seed them, and even then it's just like intermediate, non-impressive damage. But yeah, they deserve better. But they deserve an Evo for both their variant and this one, and for this one it could have been better. Were you saying something, Mocha? I know we cut you off like 3 times in a row.
Sorry.
I might not be too enthusiastic, but actually in practice, like using them with Festival Licho is actually pretty fine. Like, it was pretty good. The extra stigma range is good for like damage boosting your team. You don't usually like feel it in the old Evo because it's just like in their column. but now like since it's like applied elsewhere, it's actually pretty nice. And you can get some big numbers going. I was actually using them with fucking Summer Heracles, and he was doing like stupid numbers because I got into the crit range. That was pretty fun. Yeah,
You mean with
I actually
the
think this giant.
you mean with the stigma?
Hmm?
Like taking advantage of the stigma, you mean? Sorry, could you explain the
What-
synergy between Heracles and Arc again?
Summer Heracles, it's because like he has combo and he has that stupid range, right?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I kind of see it, yeah.
Yeah, so like he gets like extra damage due to the stigma because his damage can kind of be poo-poo. And I was like running with like this support Xmas Benton to just like try to like ardor boost and get like and roll for more bind chances. And this was even on like the Outlaws map where technically most of the characters are immune to bind in the first place because they have the Lawbreaker skill. And it was still pretty fine. So yeah. I
Well,
actually think this is a very useful skill evolution for people who
Yeah,
don't want to run Summer Oz like brain.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as you're painting it out to be. It's pretty decent.
okay, let me contextualize my comment
breaking.
then. Let me recontextualize it. It'll be good for, you know, people who aren't super into the game and they just toss them in and then they do a lot because they haven't fully figured out, you know, the best kind of synergies yet. But if we're talking about like optimal synergies for the best kinds of, you know, teams to handle the most relevant kinds of maps, Arc doesn't really have a place in any of them. They're more like a general purpose for any kind of quest that does not have blind resistance, which is, you know, I guess grind quests, but again, they deal like 0 damage, so you wouldn't even use them for them.
Well, CQs
I mean,
are
More than
lacking
ha-
bind resistance nowadays.
sometimes I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's still a bit too poo-poo of an attitude to say that they're just like not optimal. I think it's kind of fun, like to have your whole team.
Okay,
starting to
it's
bind.
fun. I'm not gonna deny that it's fun. To, you know, you don't need to do anything else. You just toss Arc in, and then, you know, some other unit that
And
can
that
do
does
whatever else-
things.
else
There you
does
go.
well. All right, fine,
It's-
fine.
General purpose unit.
That general purpose blessing to the Allied front that literally no one talked about yet.
Well, because no one cares about that part.
Yeah, I guess. All right.
You can use it for Xmas Bertro. There you go.
Blessing strength. Yeah,
There you go.
That's true.
The
The
perfect
freeze
synergy.
and the stigma, it's all coming together. I have been proven wrong. You guys showed me the light.
There you go.
Okay, well, that's enough light showing. You can read out the comments if you wish, Milk.
Okay. Arc Yas. An 80% change to inflict the status that gives bind at 60%. Guess Babylon isn't the only one that likes gambling in the family. Having used Arc in a grind team, they're more consistent than they look. Oh wow, you use them in a grind team? That's kind of interesting. Oh right, there's this quest where they're technically a booster. Yeah, it's actually pretty consistent when you get like a bunch of people hitting the same unit over and over again. So I'm not like that negative, even if I sound bored about the Skibo. Almost missed Strim. Best non-binary sibling. Where do they buy they binders? Do they do that? Ex-Bertro synergy with blessing to allies. Oh wow.
I don't mind.
Ear and I are on the same wavelength because I've only
this
read this
thing.
now. Cool Skibo and concepts, but the bind chance needing skill seeds and glint or concentration to have a chance to apply bind isn't worth it. The damage being mid ain't good either. I don't
mean,
particularly think so.
You guys
like, it's
didn't really
pretty
talk
normal.
about the 80% thing, though. Like, I mean, hitting them multiple times is fine, but even then, it's still not guaranteed to even have that chance, too, right? It only goes up 80% of the time.
Well,
Well, it's-
just re-roll. the fate.
There it is.
It's only at 20%. And Dark can equip their own AR for prayer. There you go.
For an 80% chance at prayer.
Well, yeah. I mean, I actually do have the Arc AR, so I didn't really care about it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Still need to try again for Summer Shiva. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah,
Maybe he won't be relevant ever. Yeah.
He's still probably
Maybe the AR will be fixed by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Okay, we're done talking
That's
about
all.
Arc. Thank you,
Yep.
Milk. We'll then move on to the next topic. Who's this being covered by? This is the Balor's skill evolution. This will be covered by Salgas. So go ahead.
Poor Irby.
It was a joke.
I know. We were just talking about it in stream, or before stream, that Irby actually wanted to talk about Balor. And then I betrayed his trust because they didn't give it to him. But oh well.
Right,
Oh, well.
Balor. So, Balor gets an Evo to his giant skill, which is not translated for some reason. I just looked at the image and saw it wasn't translated. Yeah, giant is like that, minus CP to enemies hit and push away. For some reason, the CP drain that giant has actually got nerfed. It went from 12 CP to 10 CP. When you hit them, I have no idea why they did that. It's a bizarre.
It's a
nerf
mistake,
that
most likely.
It's probably, yeah. I was gonna say it's probably a mistake. It's very weird, but whatever. You weren't using Balor for that, probably, and 2 CP will probably not break the bank, even if you were. Right. So, phase start concentration at 100%. This is just great. It grants him. Since it's 100%, he will always have the 10% buff, and it grants him a guaranteed brawn proc and a guaranteed stigma proc if he misses. So guaranteeing those is nice. Less chance to plan around. He gets turn start to attack up at 90% rate. This is also guaranteed due to his phase start concentration. So the turn start attack up is nice just because it gives him another buff to fish for his CS weapon change at all. As a quick recap, Balor has this meme about his CS where his CS has none range, but for each buff he has a 10% chance of changing it to all range, and then it does a ludicrous amount of damage. Well, it's not that great these days, or it's not that impressive these days, but it still does a lot on its own. But anyway, the real meat of the Evo is this. Every 2 turns, Balor will refresh all of his buffs by removing them and reapplying them at turn start at a 70% rate. So this is like Jiangshi Krampus's Evo, where he can move to refresh all of his buffs, but it happens automatically. The idea is to give him a somewhat reasonable chance of actually triggering his CS weapon change all effect. Since it has a base 10% rate, you're basically just attempting to fish for it repeatedly by just reapplying a ton of buffs. Each buff reapplied is another roll for it to trigger. I thought I wrote the vague rates, but whatever. Anyway, so Balor can already apply some of the longer buffs to himself of Brawn, Adamantine, and now Attack Up. Attack Up and Brawn are the ones that will be constantly reapplying, since Adamantine requires him to get hit. So Balor will likely be fishing for at least 2 buffs on his own, so that's nice. Now, while this all sounds well and good, it does have a few problems. Because it applies every 2 turns, it actually won't work on 2-turn duration buffs. Buff counters tick down at the start of your turn before the refresh goes off, so they'll expire first and won't be refreshed. The exception is when the buff is applied on an odd turn. So, for example, on turn 1, Balor will get concentration, and then on turn 2, the counter will go down to 1 turn left, but since it's turn 2, it gets refreshed. If he actually triggers his buff refresh. Then on turn 3, the counter ticks down to 1 again, and then on turn 4, it'll tick down to 0, and then it'll expire before it gets refreshed. So this rules out constant reapplication of any 2-turn buffs. which is important because glint and concentration last 2 turns. This means you can't possibly get Balor's skill rate high enough to get a 100% rate of buff refresh. You can get Prayer and Skill Seed Balor for 90%, and that's it. So that sucks, because you really don't want Balor to be failing his buff refresh, since any failure also means that any 4-turn buffs will be the next to run out. There is the Friendship Affinity Burst to increase Balor's rate by 10%. All Affinity Bursts are irremovable, so you can't refresh that like that. But it's there if you want a higher buff rate, since it could be used to get that 100%. But the only person Balor likes is Tezcatlipoca, so you'll need to decide if he's useful enough to pair with Balor. Tezcatlipoca 5 with his Evo does give Berserk Plus and Vigor, so that could be a consideration if you really want the extra 10% skill rate. That is 2 buffs Balor doesn't have that are more than 2 turn duration. But either way, it's turn start, so it's easy to reset for if you really wanted to. But anyway, there are still plenty of buffs that you can make use of. So yeah, I made this nice graphic that doesn't actually say the names or specific time durations, but whatever. I also noticed that the text is now covered by the chat log or whatever. So obviously Prayer is one of the more important buffs, since it's the only skill raising buff he can really use, or use indefinitely. It lasts 6 turns, I believe, and to get Prayer, you pretty much need Valentine's Arc or Itzamna to spread to him, so it's a bit hard to get, but definitely a consideration. Balor drains his own health naturally at every turn start, so giving him Blessing, Regeneration, Nourishment, or Flat Damage Reversal can be used to counteract that. So that's important if you really want him to like Juggernaut on his own with a bunch of buffs, since you'll want him to not die. Finding a source of defense up would also be useful in the same vein to increase his tankiness. Defense up is the remaining long-lasting defense buff that he can use for refresh. Unfortunately, Unction, which would actually fulfill both of these conditions, only of healing and increasing his defense, it only lasts 2 turns, so in the same way as Glint and Concentration, you can't indefinitely use Unction, which is a shame. Movement expansion that lasts 3 turns can be obtained in a few ways. Nightglow's Kuragane does it when appearing to the board, so it's very easy to use. You just put Nightglow's Kuragane in the team. Yoritomo 5 does it gives movement expansion to the ally in front on miss. He also gives Vigor and for another turn start or a 3-turn buff, and also Limit, which, I mean, he'll be refreshing that anyway. So he could be a good pair. Jamberry Shiro does it in slash range behind at the start of the mission, and also Vigor and Glint, so that could be nice too. And Samo Kotaro gives it to the entire board when he dies, but otherwise there's no real synergy there. So a few options to give Balor movement expansion. You could have Sphinx give Balor weapon change magic, if for some reason you want Balor to indefinitely have magic for attacking, which isn't the worst idea, since at base he'll have 3 attack buffs, so that's 14.8k with just his 3 buffs. If you have Sphinx giving him limit, that's 29.6. So you could definitely have Balor as a kind of bootleg magic attacker, but he would do plenty of damage. It would also make it easier for Balor to actually charge a CS, since he would actually be hitting things with the magic range, because it's kind of hard for him to hit things with blow. For CP granting buffs, since half of the idea of this Evo is to help him with his CS, you're unfortunately limited to acceleration and immobility. With his own turn start CP, this would give 30 CP per turn altogether, which is a decent amount, although Balor probably still wants a battery to help him. And also having immobility means Balor can't move, which might be a problem. Also, I feel like acceleration and immobility are a bit rare to give to allies for immobility off the top of my head, I can only think of Babylon or Halloween Babylon. And there are some units who give acceleration, but acceleration is such a nothing burger skill that I can't think of any right now, or I can't be bothered to think of any. So yeah, there's plenty of buffs up for grabs for Balor to incorporate. How practical it is, rather, is questionable, but buff stacking is always fun, and Balor's CS does do quite a lot of damage. It deals 43.2k plus 5 flat with just attack up and brawn alone at SA1. So that's without concentration. So it would be easy, very, very easy to turbocharge Balor's CS, since it was always like that. It always did a lot of damage. Now, for particularly convoluted gameplay, there is the option of using Leaked 5's Skill Evo to grant Balor very rare buffs. So to refresh, Leaked Skill Evo grants allies an effect that makes them give all of their buffs to all allies when they die. So, as an example, Weapon Change All lasts 3 turns, Echo Alp and Summer Shiva all have this buff, but it's only to self. So in theory, you could get Balor to have an indefinite Weapon Change All with an all-range CS and a ton of buffs to augment it if you had one of those 3 die with a Leaked in the team. This is definitely not practical, and it's complete meme territory, but it's funny to mention anyway.
It's not the only way. There's also, like, if you want all range, you could use Vapula and then Chris Knight.
Yes, you could use Vapula and then, like, Goemon or something to spread it to him. Yes, that is also meme territory, but that requires... I mean, they all require 2 units to assist him, but it's very silly. There are ways to get Weapon Change All and other such rare buffs onto Balor. But yeah, anyway, I would say this is pretty good Evo, since it gives Balor a better chance of activating his own CS every 2 turns, instead of having to wait 4 turns for his Brawn and Adamantine to wear off for that extra fish chance. And he also has an extra attack up buff, which is already a boon for it. And but having the 2-turn reroll just gives him so many more chances to roll for it. It's got what is probably a deliberate flaw in not being compatible with 2-turn buffs, so that kind of sucks, but you can still play around it. And honestly, even outside the buff refresh thing, the guaranteed concentration is already nice, since it's an attack buff and it gives more proc rate to his skills, which are already good. Countdown, Paralysis, and Stigma are all strong debuffs, so higher rates on those is always nice. But yes, I do like this Evo. Even if it has its problems, it's plenty strong, in my opinion.
Okay. Is that all your thoughts for this unit then, for now?
Yeah, that's all my thoughts.
Okay, Irby, anything that he missed out on? Now's your chance to shine. Irby! Oh my god. Okay, Milk.
He's dead.
You got
Okay.
me.
I died.
Okay. Well, I'll just let.
I've been crushed by Balor's giant titties or something. I don't know. I like this Evo as well. I was just muted, talking to myself apparently. But yeah, what I do like the most about this Evo is actually the attack buffs he got are some of the rarest ones out there. Like you could have gotten any attack buffs that were just like, for instance, Ardor or something, that like one of the most common. But no, he got attack up and concentration, which are pretty rare for buffers themselves to bestow to their people. So this means that he can have synergy with pretty much most common attack buffers out there. You can somehow he managed to, even though he got 2 new attack buffs, he managed to still not have any common buff with Lianan. So that I'd say that's pretty impressive. His damage is also a lot higher, and I do think that this skill evolution covered most of his flaws. I think what the intent here was to make it so that you couldn't clear the board when he CS's. But yeah, there's the problem that the concentration by that time is not going to refresh on phase start, and you're just going to lose it because it's total turns and not phase turns. But yeah, I think it's pretty neat. It's still very memey, which well, it was what I liked about the unit and about fishing for that CS weapon change. And I think with this Evo, at least for the first refresh, I can confidently just use a different AR for Balor instead of just relying on that dumb Balor Tezcatlipoca AR that gives 30% CP, because being able to refresh all these buffs is already a considerable chance to get his CS weapon changed to proc. I will say that, as August touched upon, this skill evolution did not touch his health depletion over time, so he's still going to probably need some healing if he's intended to use for long quests. But yeah, I think it was overall a good skill evolution that increased his damage and made his meme slightly more reliable.
All right. Sorry to cut you off for like the third time again. What's up, Milk? You had any thoughts that Irby didn't mention?
No, I just grunted. Well, I use this Skeevo. I like it. I think it's kind of a stupid Skeevo to just like give 2 offensive buffs. I think he would have been just fine without the rolling part. Like, where else do you get a Skeevo where you just get effectively like 4.8 times your damage or something? Yeah, in practice, I think the rolling part is pretty neat. I was using the Balor Tez AR though, so some of his like activation stuff might have been more guaranteed than it should have been. I think the part about concentration running out is valid, except for the fact that that only applies when you're just sort of like solely banking on Balor. But in practice, I kind of find that harder because you sort of need to like CP gen him as well, and at that point, the rest of your units might as well be clearing the phase before Balor does anything. So he's kind of like, he doesn't have to like, be the sole carry of the team. So in practice, the issues about like his stuff running out might not actually appear because he might have just cleared the phase already. So yeah, I think the challenge of giving him CP is still pretty much the most important part. It would be nice if he had like some after buff like CP thing, but
yeah, you can't
I don't
that
think
AR.
there's AR he can do that. Yeah, because he's not Tetsuo, he's not Nether or Wood.
Yeah,
So that's unfortunate, but it would be nice if he had like some better CP gen. I guess you could just use Inaba or something, but yeah, still kind of
Right.
poo-poo.
I think the reason for these 2 damage buffs is just because he used to have good damage until damage as a whole just got a lot better, and then it became mediocre. So these 2 extra damage buffs help him reach relevant levels again for board wiping, which I'm calculating at 100,000 damage per square, which, because just it's around 4 times as much as before from 25,000 damage per square. But I do think what's interesting about this that's wasn't really emphasized enough is that all these damage buffs are guaranteed, and because there's 3 of them, concentration and attack up and brawn, you can just ignore the rest of his kit and just use Summer Oz honestly to get that constant of board wide. And unlike Otohime or Summer Jiraiya, you don't need to skill seed him. You can just have constant high board wide damage the entire time for every phase, presuming you're board wiping every time. The only caveat is it is valiant damage, but if you're using Summer Oz, you're going to get an extra buff with Ardor, and he'll be just that much stronger at fulfilling that role. But yeah, if you want to guarantee his buff refreshment, that's not going to happen unless you have prayer and skill seeding, and then you do like alternating glint every other turn. That's alternate to his total turn refreshment of all his buffs. Yeah, those are all my thoughts on it. Is that it from everyone then?
I guess.
Okay.
Yes.
No one's blown away by my Oz synergy? Totally unique? Okay, fine.
No, because you have better units for that, but okay.
Do we? I mean, if you have Fushi, sure, but, that's like
Yeah.
a 5-star.
Fushi.
That's a 5-star, right? This is a 4-star. If you happen to only have Balor, that's better, and, Fushi's limited. So if you happen to have Balor already and you don't have Fushi, and you're planning to do an Oz synergy, this could work out quite well. But,
I ran the calc and it was like 13k, right? With Summer Oz, if you ignore the weakness, because you usually don't get the weakness a lot of the time, to be honest.
yeah.
I guess it's not like that unsimilar with stuff like Halloween Sandayu. I think he gets like that many buffs if you have the limit AR. What else was there? There's like Takumi Nakata still. And he's always annoying. Yeah.
And
You can also equip that limit AR now too, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Point being, you have another reliable source of big damage. No skill seeding required, so that's nice. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
You can read out the comments now, Salgas.
Oh, may I?
Yes.
Where were we? Was it Grandpa?
Probably.
Grandpa. CP decreased.
The one
enough.
before that too.
Oh.
Yeah.
It always feels like they tend to hold back for main pool skill evolutions. It's funny you say that because Balor. But I assume that was before Balor showed up. Yeah, CP decreased enough, angry face. Yes, truly, we should all complain to Life Wonders about it. Granddaddy, have you read Balor Special Quest? Is really, really horny. No, but that doesn't surprise me. Finally, a good board wiper. Finally. I mean, we've had plenty before. Ara, you opened Housamo by accident. Bring back real music. Clown emoji.
If you didn't know, they were playing the map theme a little while ago in the playlist.
Oh, I mean, I like the map theme. When Housamo closes in 2 years, you'll be back to YouTube to listen to it again. I mean, I don't know if I would actively seek it out to listen, but I like it enough. I don't know what emoji that is. The blue head yelling.
XD
Dog. Okay. Still wouldn't try for Balor CS without the Tez Balor AR, which is a shame because it feels like the Skiba was designed to free up his AR slot. I mean, if you put enough buffs on him, then you probably don't need that AR, whose effect I don't know what it is.
It increases your rate of activations by 30% if you have 100 CP.
But it's not 100%, by the way. It's still
Epic.
80%.
We need Chen, Gong, and Housamo. Give us a permanent unit that can sacrifice another. I do not know who that is, but yes, we do need a unit who can kill another unit quickly. Leonan is not fast enough. I had Balor with Valentine's Arc and his Festival ARs with me, so he was getting all range pretty decently for me at least. Yeah, Valentine's Arc is a good pair for him, just because they can give prayer. More HP reduction than Yori could work, but on another trigger. Yeah, I guess Yori Tomo also kills his allies. God, I wish it could be crushed by Balor or Ditto. Leonan variant that gives a unit in front minus 20,000 HP. That's it, nothing else. I mean, that would definitely be useful or usable. There are some units who want to be low health, and I guess that would also be limit synergy. Poop emoji. Shengong is from Fate Go, cheap unit who on CS kills the front unit. Very good. Well, I mean, yeah, we could definitely use something like that.
For various memes, but probably not for everyday uses. Okay, we are now moving on to the last Evo of the bunch. And it is me. I am finally talking. I think. This is my first time talking, yeah. So, we'll be covering Boogeyman's evolution now. Right, so let's just talk about his base kit for a bit. Because with Evos, it only changes part of his kits, which means some roles are changed and some roles are new. But some roles are just not updated at all. So what has not changed is his attraction mechanic. He will still only pull units in one square in the next turn if he misses in the previous turn. And he still has this movement disruption mechanic, where he just fears and or breaks the enemy depending on if he hits them or is near them during his move phase end. So that part, keep in mind, because I'll be talking about the rest of his updated roles in context to the rest of his kit, including those unchanged roles. So the changes to his kit, his break on move phase end has slightly increased this rate, which is nice. Still at not 90% rate, which is not nice even if you skill seed him. And he now has combo on phase start, which is interesting because it actually does affect a lot of his other abilities. We'll get to that though. And on phase start, he also applies Cursed Weakening to the entire board of enemies, so that if they have Curse, they will take an additional 1.5 times damage. And this is, of course, an ear removal debuff that lasts for pretty much forever until they are defeated. And on miss, he will now act as a CP bestower. He will give allies 6 CP, so not incredible, but I'll comment more on that later. It's also at a 7% rate, so whatever. And lastly, he can now apply Curse at a very low rate of 30%. It is on when attacking though, so before damage calculation, which is important for a different reason. I'll get to that. But yeah, so looking at his kit as a whole, he now has some new and modified roles. He is a double roller, as in, this is a very fancy way. He has combos, and he has things that he can activate things twice in a row because he has combo. So if you do not decide to skill seed him, then you have a much greater chance of activating that attraction mechanic now. Since it was only at 90%, it will effectively act at 99% now, because you'll be rolling twice for it on miss. And if it fails the first time, then that's a 10% chance, and it fails like another time, that's only a 1% chance. So 10% of 10%. He also acts as a more effective guts tank now because he is able to miss twice, if you choose to let him miss, with his combo, at least for the first 2 turns of the face. And he is a slightly better CP battery if you actually let him miss too, with his new CP battery functionality. He can give 12 CP to allies adjacent, and it doesn't seem like much, but it's for the entire team, presuming they're in position. So overall, he could give maybe 36 CP as a whole to the entire team every turn for the first 2 turns, which is, it's okay. And his double rolling doesn't just apply to his missing abilities, it also applies to his attacking abilities, because he can now inflict Curse at such a low rate. It's slightly higher than that, at least for a couple turns. I didn't do the calculation, but it's slightly higher than 30% because you're rolling for it twice. And there's also the chance of Fear after attacking, which is important actually because his base kit has Fear after attacking, and we'll talk about why that's important in a bit. Essentially, he has updated the role of becoming a delay damage dealer to an instant damage dealer. He previously needed to wait a turn before he could really exploit most of his damage abilities, for various reasons. But now he can instantly exploit it because of his combo, particularly with his Fear advantage, which gives him a 2 times damage multiplier against Fear. So first he breaks the enemies, which is greater at a more reliable rate, so better for him being a damage dealer. And then he applies combo to himself, and that lets him roll for a curse twice. And because the enemies all have curse weakening, he will now have double the chance to take advantage of that curse weakening. And he actually can also take advantage of it in the normal way as well, with his ability to give curse at 90% rate if he is hit. That works well with his guts tanking if you do decide to go that way, so if he gets hit, he can still take a hit while giving curse. And as I said before, he now can take advantage of his Fear advantage, at least for the second hit of his combo, because he'll apply Fear for the first hit, though he won't take advantage of that, and the next time he can take advantage of it, presuming it goes through, which it's a pretty high rate at 90%, so it should go through. Calculation-wise, this amounts to, on a regular attack, he'll be doing 26,000 damage per square, which is comparable, honestly, to column clear damage of the most relevant caliber. It's just in slash range, so that's the only not relevant thing. And it also relies on a lot of not guaranteed things like the break or the curse weakening, which is not great, but it's still a respectable amount of damage, even if it's not as guaranteed as they'd like it to be. And lastly, he does even more damage on charge if he can actually get curse for whatever reason on the enemy before then at 150,000 damage per square. This is with curse advantage, so 150,000 damage per square on charge, and he might not be able to get this charge very fast, but if you build around that, it could work. And it's a respectable amount. It'll just take a while to get that much, and he of course does have that additional curse advantage that is only available during his charge of 2.5 times. So my recommendations for this unit: you do not want to really change the main usage of this unit despite all these extra things. You are going to use them for the attraction mechanic primarily. That's Boogeyman's biggest thing, and that hasn't changed at all in any way, except for the reliability if you didn't decide to skill seed him. It is now 99% instead of just 90%. But besides that, yeah, you can just toss him back and keep on missing it. He'll support your units by pulling all enemies and allies in every turn. And lastly, you may want to pair him with curse weakness exploiters, so anyone who can use curse regularly as a damage dealer. There is Daikoku's Hell Hot Spring variant, who gives curse to the entire board, and he can take advantage of that curse weakening as well. You can also use Christmas Jiraiya, who applies curse to whoever he attacks and also has curse advantage natively. But yeah, both are good choices, I would say. And that's all my thoughts on this unit, Boogeyman. So, any other thoughts, pals? Hello, friendos, Selgus, Milk, Irby.
They really didn't need to make his 30% or his curse 30%. What for? What reason?
So he is used for his main gimmick and not damage, I guess.
I almost want to say they shouldn't have even bothered, but I mean, I guess if it goes off, it's nice, but it is kind of leaves a sour taste to have it just at a terrible rate.
It was the least interesting skill evolution of the whole batch. I do think that the curse weakening is nice, but really I don't think anything really changed here, unless you were using Boogeyman for some obscure damage reason. But yeah.
Where did you get 26k? I'm not getting that high.
Regular attack plus combo plus curse and curse weakening and fear and advantage against fear for the second hit and break.
That doesn't sound like 26k.
It should be.
It's like, no, I don't think so. Because like 2.3 and 2, I'm not really getting that high. It's just a 1.5 curse weakening, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm only getting like 11k. So I feel like there's something wrong with the calculations.
I don't know.
This 26k sounds really high for like a slash unit. Yeah.
I mean, he's got the multipliers there. Break, fear advantage, curse weakening, and combo's slightly higher too, I guess.
Yeah. Like, what attack stat are you using? Like, the max one? Or is it like...
No, just regular one.
Okay, because I definitely don't get that much.
I mean, I already removed my calculation from it earlier, so I can't double check. It's, I mean, even if it was or wasn't, it's like you're not generally gonna be using him for big damage because it's not reliable anyways. So, well,
the only like unreliable part was the curse part, really. So
break's
like,
also not great,
nerds.
and yeah.
I mean,
Fear, technically, if you don't skill seed him, also not reliable.
You said 26k, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he said 26k.
Yeah, I'm getting that as well.
Like,
that was
like where is this damage
reaction.
from?
Does it really matter? Alright, like I did the calculation.
Yes, it does.
It does matter. It does. It definitely does matter.
It's very
like
important.
Yeah, because a 4-star doing like 26k damage is like very important. Yeah. Let's see if I'm missing something.
It should be. Actually, it might be slightly less because I think I've applied the fear twice, but it might be slightly less than that. So I would say, yeah, I think it's slightly less than that. Yeah, let me redo that.
I really don't think this needs to be done midstream, but okay.
No, it's important.
Very important, Ara,
Oh
please.
my fucking god.
Yeah, very important. Like, how can we have a 4-star perma unit doing 26k damage? That's
Impossible.
That's not that impossible, geez, guys.
Yeah, actually, it's probably more like around 20k or maybe 21k. Just by
Are we getting
eyeballing
different
it.
numbers?
3 different values. Amazing. 4 different values. Look, just take my calculation for a ballpark if you don't trust the exact number, okay? It's in that level. No matter what, it's above 10k. So it's gonna be...
Okay, Erida is right. He's saying 12k, which is around like the 11k that I said. Yeah.
He's right because it matches your number the most. Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
Yes. I mean, he's using the same values that I'm using, except his break value is actually the right one, because I keep thinking it's 2.3 for whatever reason. Yeah. I think that's freeze, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I think he's not like 26k. That's ridiculous.
Moving on. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this unit besides the questionable damage calculation?
I think the damage calculation made with the curse advantage on CS now, multiplier. Maybe that's why it gets so high.
No, I'm pretty sure I
so.
applied it separately. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Alright, you know what? You guys talk about your thing. I'll do a separate calculation for my own purposes. But do you talk about him? I don't know. Milk or beads. I'll just do the thing.
Yeah, I've actually had to use his break advantage sometimes in farming quests. So, I mean, not like just to be like safe. So the extra rate there is like fine. I don't really care about the other stuff though. Like the curse awakening is just whatever. I don't really care about the on-miss CP either. And 30% is just a mean. So, all in all, it's kind of a boring skill evolution after we just had Balor, who just straight up gave 2 attack buffs, and Arc, who has like bind to the entire board.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this Evo seemed pretty trash to me as well. But at least it wasn't a star 2 levels.
Yeah,
I'll never forgive them for that.
I do wish Boogeyman got a better Evo because, I mean, even if his new functionality was good, you're still just gonna use him to be constantly missing, not really for his break or whatever. So it's, yeah, just put him back in miss, and nothing has really changed in terms of the uses. But yeah, that's just a I'll go ahead and read the comments if that's it from everyone. Alright. Babula would be happy. Boogeyman, Hunky Man, Husband, Pussy Man, Boogie and the Woogie. The entire skill evolution is CP to allies and 10% to break. Yeah, kind of, honestly. There's the curse thing, which is not amazing, but at least you can exploit curse immediately rather than waiting to get hit. Combo during an event farming against sprites can backfire with their possession. Yeah, it had that happen a number of times where Arc blows everyone up and then like hits the person directly behind them right after. It's a bit funny. Curse is removable, yes. Alright, combo is great. Actually, never mind, I forgot. Oh, I remembered, I abandoned my old account. I have to seed Boogeyman over again. Yeah, sure, Jen. OMG Joe. Why did Boogie even get a skill evolution? He was already one of the most useful permanent 4 stars. Well, you could say that about Astarte too, but I do think that Boogeyman could have definitely had a lot more furnishing, because this one seems like an unnecessary Evo overall in terms of, like, it technically adds stuff, but it's not going to change the way you play, and it's not going to really enhance the way you play unless you change, how you want to play with him as an attacker rather than as a misser, which is, not really his best case usage. So, hi, big fan. Yo, Zako, welcome. Valentine Ketchi needs a skill evolution more than Boogie did. Boogie was already good for what he did. Well, technically, regular Ketchi already got an Evo, but I do think the Valentine variants for this event definitely could have used an Evo, except for Balor. But if knowing Life Runners, if they did do that route, they would have given only Balor an Evo. Was Shiva the only one who received an Evo in Summer Adventure among that? Yeah, it was, right? Because it wasn't like a reprint fit, it was just like, it was randomly him among other treasures, CP units, or whatever. Yeah, that's idiotic.
Oh, the banner was out, though. The banner was reprinted during that time, so... I
mean, sure,
it was still a banner.
Okay, well, where's everyone else's Evos then, huh? Where's Tajikaros and Arachnes and Jugos and, like, Oguchis? Yeah, it was just Shiva. Amazing. They're really banking on Faves. Right, moving on. Halloween Toji works too, I think. OMG, scary big hot man. I'll be checking under my bed for him for sure, sir. Yeah. Oh no, please don't abduct me. Anything but that. I got 12,000 damage per square. You can go confirm that on your time. 26k is what you get when you forget to include the weapon multiplier. I may have done that. Boogeyman still prefers to be in the back even after the skill evolution. In more ways than one, I'm sure. Very cool synergy, Erta and Irby among us. Valentine Itzamna does not need a skill evolution, he's perfectly fine. Yeah, that doesn't mean he couldn't use one. But we are now done talking about the Evos. We will now be talking about the ARs. This will probably be a breezy segment, but this is the actual new content and not just upgrade content from the past. So, we will first be talking about probably the best AR of not even this batch, but the previous Soul batch. The Summoner's Token Booster AR. This will be covered by Housamo, so go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So the Tolji Golan AR gives limit, and it gives a on phase start at 100% rate if you max the AR. It gives a fat 1000 attack stat if it's AR level 100, and also boosts the AR token drop rate by 10%. It can be equipped by the summoners, slash units, and all range units. So
all around.
This is a really all round. I'm not saying all range. So this is a really good AR because it's basically just a free attack buff if you max it correctly. And since its limit is an AR is a damage buff that ranges from 2 times to 4 times damage. This is a really good farming AR that could be used for farming. I actually used it in different Chapter 13 Attack Blossom strategy with it equipped on Christine. So
one of these is I'll check that out.
So there's some pretty good farming potential for it. So for the summoners, I think the Kengo variants other than V Kengo could equip it if you want to get extra blow damage for some Kengo meme. Halloween Tochi can equip it. That's pretty good. I think people have used it in the Inaba farming event. to get some extra damage on Halloween Toji. So that's pretty neat because that puts his like CS up to like, I don't really remember what his CS does. I think it was around like 13k damage. So that pumps it up to around like 26k. I used this AR in Moritaka, Jabbery Moritaka, during the Inaba event. So he can use that AR as well. Like, pretty much all of his variants can use it. Funnily enough, all mobs are considered summoners, I think. So if you're like somebody who uses mobs and somehow like needs like a phase start limit, you can equip it on any mob. And also, Summer Shen can actually equip this AR because he's technically a summoner in his summer variant. So yeah, if you're a Summer Shen user, you can also actually use this AR. The other weird person who is a summoner is Tadatomo. The weird part about him is that his 3-star and 4-star are actually only agents. So his 4-star regular cannot equip this AR, but all of his other variants, his Valentine variant and his Chapter 13 variant, can equip this AR. So if you like Tadatomo, then you can equip this on his like Chapter 13 variant and get some extra damage and his after buff stuff going off.
Oh, is that the case?
Okay.
I didn't know that they could be different depending on their card.
Yeah. The wiki puts like Yasuyori as well as a summoner, but that's actually not true for his Xmas variant. But yeah, Summer Shen can actually equip this AR. It's pretty weird, but yeah.
I do think the wiki should find a way to what's called separate, lore-wise members versus actual gameplay members that can equip these kind of effects. But yeah.
Yeah, that's probably just something that we have to manually edit or whatever. Or just like shove off to Erida. Okay, and then for slash units, Kathuga can equip this AR. That's kind of gross, but he can equip it. Onsen Schlodel can put it on Kalki to get it all range. For me, I'd put it on Kresnik because he's pretty good. He does like 11k because I have him seeded normally, so the extra limit will boost it up to like 22k. And you can equip it on Halloween Sandayu, and I guess you can put it on like Halloween Alice because she can transform to magic range. And for all range units, there's actually a pretty good selection. Christine can equip it. Takemi Hekate can equip it. Xmas Wrong can equip it. And you can even go with more forgotten picks like Canon Robinson or Ixbalanque, who everybody forgot already. But yeah. So yeah, that's about it. Oh, one other note is that the artist of this AR is Waku, who drew Golden Bursty. So if you're a fan of Golden Bursty, then you can go pray that Waku draws a variant for him because he just drew some art right now.
I thought it was by Sosuke, though.
Oh, really? I thought it was Waku.
Says like there's Sosuke, but
Oh, what
Yeah, it looks like Sosuke art
Oh.
too.
Okay.
The Waku one is the other one that we haven't talked
is
about
it?
yet.
Is
yeah.
it the Balor AR?
Yeah.
Okay, then I just mixed it up. Then it's Sosuke. Yeah, so I'm lying. Yeah, Waku is like the Shiva Balor AR, so you can go pray that he draws gold in there.
okay.
One day the New Year's units will have variants.
I hope so. But anyways, if that's it from you, Milk, do you have any other thoughts, Irby, Zalgus?
Not really, but I do think it's funny just how many units are included under the bracket of summoners. I think it would be by the end of the game, every unit will be a summoner.
I do think it's kind of dumb
I
that they kind of
don't
just did a
actually think
blanket
that,
protocol for the mobs to be summoners. Because let's be real, Yaksha is not associated with summoners. Yaksha is associated with the outlaws or some shit like that, as with the Oni.
No, but I'm pretty sure all the mobs have some text that they joined you at the end of their bios.
Yes, that's the case. But in the stories, that's never the case. You read the stories; they're always associated with some guild. And at the very least, at least make them associated with those guilds too. You know, just like needless.
Beat them up in the event quest, and we forcibly have them join us. We conscript them into the summoners.
Alright, if that's the headcanon you want to go through, sure. But I do think that they shouldn't just be the summoners. They should also be, whatever respective guild they're associated with. Because it's a shame otherwise that, at that point, might as well just say, can be equipped in 2 stars and under. Like, what is the point of that distinction? Like, come on. But, anyway. Do you have thoughts on this, Irby, before I say mine?
I think it's neat that we have an AR that gives an attack buff, guaranteed. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for saying Milk's first line, but okay. So yeah,
yes.
ARs continue to be superior.
Already, it was too long ago, I already forgot. I'm sorry.
Alright. My personal recommendations for this. All cards of Jurong, all cards of Takumi Nakata, Kabukichi Night Festival Sandayu, Katuga's 5-star, Taotomo's Chapter 13, Jamboree Shiro, Halloween Police Toji, Robinson, it's Kainan variant, Christine's rare variant, as Milk said, he made a video on that. Check it out. One day I'll check it out myself too. And you might even want to consider putting on Bigfoot if you want him to stop being an ass magic damage dealer. So he'll be a bit better.
Oh my god, I forgot he existed.
Yeah. But besides damage dealers, you might also want to bring this exclusively for AR token farming. So that would still apply to Kostuga if you want to grind with him, for example. But, you could also, as Milk mentioned, equip it on Hot Springs Shadal for dungeons so that you can buff someone else that moves at who you want to move. But you could also put it on units that don't necessarily do the damage themselves, so the limit effect will be wasted, but you're still getting maximum use out of the bonus. So Yuri Chomo would be a very clear case of just buffing the entire board, which is useful for dungeons, as well as Christmas Ryota. I've personally been using Christmas Ryota with this AR a lot because I have my own Shiva, and you just pair the two together and then they can do the board wipe. So even though Ryota doesn't use the limit, it still gets that nice AR token bonus. So yeah, those are all my thoughts on this. You're free to read out the comments now, Milk.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Did we read? I'll just read it again. He can kidnap me.
Same.
Oh, it seems must take my leave by Great Stream Ara and takes care Herbs, Milk, and Zolgus. That's from Zoe. Sure
Goodbye.
wish there are more than 3 summoners who are good in the support slot. I like Valinmori, so maybe there's one more. Depends on who you like. Christmas Zurong synergy is so good. Yeah, it kind of cures his first turn nuking thing where you don't have Ardor on the first turn, so yeah. I've actually been using from a support a Christmas Zurong for dungeons, but it has the other AR, so that's kind of unfortunate. Finally, Fencer meta. Yeah, so for mobs, I don't really know which mob would like this the most. Probably the Merman. Didn't know that Summer Shenong was considered a summoner for the purposes of the AR. Yeah, he's just randomly a summoner. Summer Shenong and Valentine's Tadatomo are summoners. Also, RJ's wiki does that. Yeah, I actually did read the other wiki for who can equip this AR.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't even realize that it had that feature because I just for the backup wiki, I just look at statuses and ARs and stuff like that, units. But I didn't realize it had more features besides that. But yeah. If it has an updated guild section just for gameplay purposes, I should check that out after the stream.
Okay. I literally added the guild's page on backup wiki for this exact reason. Said by Erta, like last week. Backup Wiki having more features. It's also got a new icon today instead of Akashi. Yeah, the drawing of the DB. That might be nice to know for the future guild buff, maybe. Yeah, whenever they do this stupid guild buff implementation, it'd be nice to actually like know who's like randomly like a guild member, where there's like some weird people like, I guess, I don't know.
We've been waiting for over a year, probably 2. Let's wait a little bit longer.
Yeah. Ally points summon Rise Up. This is an insult on you. I think Kana Robinson is the only all-round unit I use regularly, so this will be nice on him. Especially since most of his buff rates are essentially 50-50. Yeah, if you use him for if you use him for like column clearing, then that's pretty good. Just add me for the correct AR SMH my head. Well, I might, because I have actually open slots. Imagine using 4-star units. And Kingo 5 is the only summoner I use as well. Yeah.
Yeah, if only it was useful on him. It's just funny of how this AR was not good on the primary damage dealer of summoners because he already does limit. So, I mean, I guess it's
regular. It depends on the Kingo 5. I think regular King 5 doesn't have limit, right?
Yeah, the regular King. The other Kingos don't have it. It's just Valentine's.
Yeah. So anybody other than Vikengo would be fine. I actually pulled regular Kengo 5, so he's pretty fun to use. Yeah, and that's all the comments.
All right, I will now be moving on to the Valentine Fantasy ARs.
On the backup wiki, what's with this? On the guild page, what's with this variable amount of question marks section at the end? There's like 3 sections or 4 sections for question marks.
Well,
and they're all different.
We can talk about it after the stream. This isn't the place for it.
Oh.
Alright.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Alright, we're going to be talking about the 3-star AR. Who even is covering this shit? I mean, oh, it's me. Right. So actually, I didn't even remember I was covering this because there's so little to talk about in this AR. So, blink and you'll miss it. It gives like a very piddle attack stat, 200 attack and 100 HP. And it can be equipped on Kuniyoshi, Hekate, Wood, Nether, and World units. What it does is it applies Spirit at a 50% rate to the person equipping it on arrival. And keep in mind, Spirit is one of the worst damage buffs, and it also scales, and it is only at a 50% rate that it's applied to. So you have a 50% rate of applying a status that will last for exactly 1 turn that will deal an additional 400 damage. So that doesn't scale, by the way. That 400 is flat. And Fear Resistance, which we have at least like 2 or 3 different ARs up already. All I can say is, this is my only note on it, do not rely on this AR for any strategy. There's more reliable ways to get Spirit, and there's more reliable ways to get Fear Resistance. There's literally nothing to talk about this AR. If there's nothing else that you guys have to say, we can move on from this very quickly.
Well, I think it's kind of dumb that this AR has like Spirit at 50% on when appearing, when we already have a 3-star AR that has 100% Spirit and it's on phase start. So that's pretty funny. The Ben 10 and Ebisu AR. Wow. I can't believe it power crapped it 2 years before it went live.
Wait, that AR exists? Was that on phase start?
Yeah, it's phase start Spirit, and it also gives some CP at 100% chance.
Why does this AR exist? This is like, I thought the Insomnia League AR was the worst. No, this is straight up the worst AR in the entire games. Like, zero use case at all.
I don't know what's the purpose of this AR, especially since the Fear Resistance is free from the first dungeon.
Yeah, and like 2 other ones give Fear Resistance too. It's not great. There's nothing to talk about. Any other thoughts, Milk and Zelgus?
No.
It's a garbage AR that's filling up the gacha pool. I do not like the fact.
Yeah, it's very explicit about how garbage it is. Like, this is unusually bad even for a 3-star AR. and its sole purpose is just to make you saltier when you don't get a decent AR. But yeah, let's just I'll read out the comments. I'm surprised there's even any. You have to have the bad ARs to make the good ones look good. I mean, if that's the case, then the shit AR will make every other AR look like gold. Stop giving Kuniyoshi ARs. Finally, I'll never have to look for Spirit and Fear assistance again. Yeah, true. Very big, important needs. Yeah, it's cute enough. Okay, moving on. We will now be talking about this AR. This will be covered by Irby, so go ahead.
It's the Shiva Heracles one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Speaking of shit ARs, this is another one. Except this one comes on a 4-star rarity and can actually be useful if you actually somehow manage to max it. What this does is it gives an attack buff, it gives attack up on phase start at a 40% rate base, which goes up to 80%. And it also has bind resistance starting at 50% and going all the way up to 100%, which is okay to have bind resistance. What is not okay is that the attack buff is really bad. Attack up only gives 1.1 multiplier at level 1, and you're doing this for 40% if you have this AR. If you have this AR at level 1, which you probably will have close to level 1, since no one tends to max these unless you're rolling really hard on AR banners. So this is pretty much another bad AR, but that can be actually good. It can give a really good boost to damage, but it requires a lot of dupes. So it makes it pretty bad. What you could do with this AR to do memes, I guess, with it, even though not really, because you could already do these memes before with other ARs, is just put it on Makan so he doesn't bind himself, I guess, when he CS's. But yeah, this is pretty bad. But it does seem to reinforce the statement that Left Wonders is adding attack buffs more often to ARs, which is nice. This one isn't just the worst one of them all so far.
No, the 3-star one that's technically an attack buff too. Fucking Spirit.
No, that doesn't. Spirit isn't an attack buff.
It's an
That's
attack
not
buff.
right.
These are all attack buffs.
It doesn't give an attack multiplier, so it doesn't count. I wasn't counting that. But yeah, it's okay. Use it for the bind resistance, or for the attack up if you have it maxed.
So these ARs, we'll even see for the coming ones. If you are a whaley whale who loves ARs, you're eating good. Otherwise, these are kind of shit. Like, pretty remarkably shit. In fact, they're not just shit. Sorry, I'll give my thoughts across once you're done talking. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I was already done. I have nothing else to say. I mean,
Okay.
other than I hate that Heracles is on the AR, but that's fine. I'm not really a fan. That's it.
The house husband character. Okay, if that's it, what are your thoughts, Milk Irby? Not Irby, Milk Sakas.
It's actually worse than you think because the restrictions are Fire, Water, and Valiant. The reason why I say that is that if you try to look at the pool of like units who really want an attack up, it's not really that big because the main people who like are in fire and water mostly that are like good already have attack up. That you have to like sort of reach to find like people who would like this, even if you're a whale.
Just Summer Shiva. There you go.
Yeah, it's like Heracles, Summer Shiva, and then you start going to like Ahab or like Vikengo or Onsen Shalotl, but it's not like that big because if you kind of like see like your fire water slot, like it's fire and water. It's like support units that you generally don't like using, like Cthulhu, who already has attack up, or like I don't know, like Babe Bunyan or Otohime already have attack up. So it's actually kind of annoying. And if you're like attack up buffing as well, this AR is even worse because like you don't want the shitty attack up compared to like whatever attack up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. There's actually 2 units that you could get attack up for these drop quests. That's Summer Arachne and Summer Catoblepas, and they get shit for all if they get this attack up instead.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't. So this AR is actually kind of like detrimental, and there's like some units who can use it, but like even if you're a whale, that kind of like pool is limited. I think like the only one that I would like really like to use it on would be like Isamna, but I'm not whaling for this AR, so yeah.
It could also be used on Makan, I guess, his 4-star.
He already said that.
Yeah, I said that.
Also, Makan's 4-star has Shapeshifter, so there's no point.
Yeah, he already has the thing.
I mean, bind resistance, so.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Arc AR.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will this go off before or after his personal skills? I always forget.
It always goes after.
It goes before.
What?
No, it's before. AR effects come before.
AR should come after everything else, at least within the unit. I think.
What?
No. I'm
No.
sorry. I'm imagining. You're right. I was thinking of acquired skills, not AR skills. Yeah, my bad. AR skills go first. So.
Okay, so it's worse than it seems because it will
Even
override.
Yes, it will. It will overlap the.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about the trend of attack. Well, trend. It only very recently started. The trend of attack buffs appearing because, like everyone else said, it will actually just make things worse if you already had attack up, since it'll just give you a level 1 attack buff instead, which is useless basically.
Time to wail.
So this will pop up in one of the other ARs about overriding with bad skill effects, but this is definitely the worst offender of it. If it was more limit still skill. I mean, I'm fine with stuff like crit because even at level 1 crit is useful, but for all the other attack buffs pretty much, sucks.
Yeah, and what's it called? Even if you were a whale, it's still only going to be 80% at best, so not something you're going to rely on. Very bizarre. But yeah, if that's it for this topic, you're free to read out the comments, Furry.
Where were we again? Finally, I'll never have to look for Spirit and Fear Resistance again. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Cute. Or at least I would if I could pull an event AR to save my life. Shiva's so cute. I do think this AR is the worst one because it blocks you from getting the good attack up. Yeah. This is a reference to the Twilight Pool, because Herc and Shiva go to the same school. Oh, there you go.
Huh, didn't know that. The more you know. Okay, well if that's it, let's move on to the next topic. This is gonna be covered by Milkosimo. No, not Milkosimo. This is gonna be covered with... Wait. Do I not have this on my notes? No, this is Zalgus, yeah. Sorry, I just have so little written on it. My eyes skipped it. Go ahead, Zalgus.
It is time for our Kirito... Oh, my bloody stream paused. It confused me for a moment. Right, Arc Kirito AR. Right. So, when you are hit, you apply Stigma to the attacker at 40%. This is probably not the part that you care about, for the same reason that you don't care about the attack up from the previous one. So it's a 40% is a low rate, and you don't want a low level Stigma anyway, because that will just ruin the damage. If you don't happen to have Stigma in your party already, then it can be useful, I guess, but it's still low level Stigma, which starts at 1.15x, so still kind of useless. The important part is a bonus to Stigma afflicted enemies of 1.3 times damage. So is pretty much useful on any team that uses Stigma, since it's essentially just a free multiplier. It's not the highest, but it's free damage if you have no other ARs. So Stigma is 2.3 times, and with this multiplier it goes to 2.99 times, so 3 times damage multiplier essentially. With the level 1 Stigma, it goes from 1.15 to 1.495, so it's almost a nourishment. Wow. So yeah, there's not much to say here. It's basically just free damage on Stigma teams. You want to be careful how you use it though, because you don't want to accidentally get the low level Stigma from the person getting hit. Since unlike the attack up one, you can at least control it and make sure you don't get the crap Stigma. So you want to apply Stigma first to get the high level one, or just not let them get hit. Because otherwise you would have been better off without the AR in the end, because you would have gotten a better level Stigma. There's a decent number of units who can both apply Stigma and equip this AR, but I'll just mention the ones who can do decent damage, since the damage is the important part. There's Vanilla Zabanya, Krampus 4 and 5, Hephaestus 5, Vanilla Hephaestus 5, Necros and Barcus, and Tindalos. Although with Tindalos, I would say that might be a bad choice, because his kit revolves around getting hit, or half of his kit revolves around getting hit to evasion tanks. So either don't let him get hit instead, or have him apply Stigma first, which is easy enough to do. That's pretty much about it. Also, yay, and null AR. Wow. Thanks, Kirito. But yeah, that's about it.
Thoughts? Milk, Irby.
Stigma is rarer, so this is less shitty than Face Dart Attack Up, but I don't really care, other than like trying to get this icon to load on the wiki for whatever reason.
Yeah,
the CD trick doesn't really work.
I've been delaying making assets for this stream for so long because I was hoping the icon would show up, and eventually I just gave up. I was like, okay, I'll just crop it for thumbnail and I'll show this ugly ass broken icon thing for the stream.
Why don't you just edit it in?
Okay, that shit takes time, alright? Like you say, why don't you just do this? I'm the only one who's making the assets, huh? Why don't you guys help me make the assets? That's what I thought, so shut the fuck up.
They'll be ugly.
Alright.
No.
It's fine, everyone
Okay.
gets suited.
I'm kind of indifferent towards this AR, outside the fact that Kirito has 12 knives when he's only supposed to have 11. But okay,
You counted?
that's fine. Yes, I counted. It was very important.
It is actually important, but yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Maybe that one in front is just like the echo image of the one he's holding, or some shit like that.
No, he actually has one more knife than he's supposed to have, but it's fine.
It was the knife
no one noticed it.
used in chapter 6 or 7.
Who knows? Maybe it is.
Yeah,
But
he
yeah,
has one more knife.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of the effect, I guess it's neat that there's a null restriction AR now, even though none of the null units actually want this. But yeah.
Hey, Sphinx can inflict stigma.
I mean,
Can make allies inflict stigma.
Kirito can also kind of use this because they're just in the back and can kind of tank anyway since they have evasion, so, you know, it kind of works. Not really, but
Doesn't he
kind of.
also have advantage to all debuffs anyway?
Something like that, yeah. The bonus
Yeah.
effect.
Maybe that was the point that I was missing with Kirito.
Yeah, I mean, just supposed to face
the-
tank things too. Were you saying something
Yeah.
about?
The Sphinx Big Stigma is actually pretty bad, or at least hard to get off, because it's like, if I recall, like, you have to... It's in magic range. It applies to enemies, but the enemies have to miss. But, like, since, like, the enemies have to miss, and the Sphinx applies it in magic range, and the Sphinx is usually, like...
They would have to be like lower slash
like,
range in
in
the
row
middle column
behind.
or something like that, right?
Yeah, so it's, like, extremely rare to get the Stigma on enemy off, because... And that's, like, foregoing the fact that you don't, like, outright kill them with the concentration limit from Sphinx. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
not
do
really
remember that
important.
since he was my unit, and I just remember the stigma being this dumb application that you can't really take advantage of.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about this AR and not other units. So, yeah. As for my thoughts, you probably already mentioned Krampus, Bargus, Zubania, Necros, Arc, but other than that, I will say one nice thing about this AR, which is I like the art. Very nice, sharp black shadows in contrast to the lighting. And, I'm a big fan of both Arc and Kirito for different reasons. Arc always seemed like a badass to me, and Kirito always seems like that mysterious X Factor to destroy. And having them together like this is interesting. And then I also saw the translation of what they saw, or what they said in the AR, and it's pretty interesting too, because, you'd think Arc would hate Kirito, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But other than that, for the AR itself, it's just adding to the theme that we have of these ARs that have been giving a bunch of damage modifiers that increase damage, whether it's attack up or limit or even fucking limit. This one adds to that stigma. And, as we can see, they're not that strong. In fact, they're even weaker. I was surprised we didn't get ARs like this in the beginning, but I can see why now that we do have these ARs. They're more of a detriment for the most case. But at least with this one, you can control it, as Salka said. But, yeah, I think that's it for this topic, so you're free to read out the comments, Salgas.
Was this AR bio before or after Genociders chapter?
No, there's the bio for this AR, so I think it might have been after.
It's
I don't know.
nah. These are usually before, honestly. So it's probably before.
Don't know. Well,
So I think the events in the Genociders would be very awkward to talk about, if you ask me.
I mean, they said something like, Arc was saying, "Where are you going, Kirito?" And then Kirito said something like, every organization I join eventually gets destroyed. It's best if you minimize your contact with me, or something like that. So it is interesting in that sense.
Oh, okay, Nico Robin.
It is like that a bit, isn't it? All right, but yeah, I'm assuming it's gonna be a chapter 14 thing, as you're implying, Chipper. But yeah, read out the comments.
You have to have bad ARs to make the good ones look good.
I think we read that. But yeah.
Stop giving Kuniyoshi ARs. Oh, yeah. Actually, where were we?
Shiva, that is all.
We're
that-
on
that-
Shiva, that is all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, that was the profile picture curse broke the icon. Profile picture curse?
I don't know, but the icon's been broken, and that's all I understand. Sad.
I mean, wouldn't you only put this AR on someone who doesn't have attack up, but you're not forced to put it on a unit outside something like the current event, so I don't see the issue. This is the previous one, but the issue is that a lot of the attackers who are actually relevant in fire and water and whatever the other one was already have attack up, so if you give them that AR, then you're just going to override it. You could just find someone who doesn't have attack up, but that's limiting who you can choose. And also, there are some units who give out attack up, so you are essentially making it so that they can't give a good attack buff or attack up, because they'll already have that nice 4-turn duration level 1 attack up. So there are problems with having a phase start crap attack up. Stigma balls. Thank you, Erita. Anyways, I like the art here. Also, yay, Kirito. I wasn't able to get this AR though. Yay, best art of the new ARs. Angsty siblings back-to-back pose, so edgy. One of them is an after image.
Referring to
I assume
knives.
that's one of the knives. I would assume that would be the knife at the top, because it kind of has a different aura surrounding it, but that just might be... I mean, some of the other knives have a similar aura at the tip, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they just put one by accident. Extra.
Complain to Life Wonders. Chapter 14 contextualizes this. The bad AR
See,
comment still holds
that's
true
what I
for game
assumed, though,
design.
with chapter 14 contextualizing this. Because, Kirito did just come out, and if there was any new dialogue, it would be during that one. I'm presuming art comes in that story too, since for some reason they still have that like relation. Sorry, you can give that comment.
Extra knife to stab protag. The bad AR comment still holds true for game design, especially for card games. It's important to have bad ones, as all of them can't be good. Yeah, I guess that's true.
It just, it hurts because it could be good if you're a whale, but we're not. Anyway, let's just move on to the next topic. We'll now be covering the 5-star ARs. So, finally, we will now be moving to the Cat is Fine AR. This is going to be covered by Housamo. Go ahead.
Yes. This AR kind of sucks. I actually pulled it during the stream, so that was kind of funny. Yeah. But it kind of sucks. It gives after attacking confusion to the hit enemy and to the enemies to the left and right of them at a 40% rate. So it's not very consistent. And on phase turns 1 to 3, after moving, you can give nullify debuff to allies only adjacent to the user at an 80% rate. So that's the more consistent part about the AR. And the restrictions are Infernal, Wood, and World. It's a very weird AR because their functionalities are kind of different. Like, you have to think about after attacking or the moving part. So for the moving part, you have to look for units who like to move, and for the after attacking part, you want to ideally have units that have a big range. Well, shot range is enough if you can get to get the 3x3. And maybe since it's inconsistent, you could also try to sort of wide slash. So for wood units, you can use people like Christmas Nomad, Christmas Sea Tree, Nyarlathotep, because he has also the Chance of Madness, and he has to move. And I was kind of reaching for other units you can use it on, maybe Gendarme, Zao, or Jiangxi Tetsuoks, but I think all of those units have better options. What else is there? For Infernal units, you can use it on Bale, Daikoku, or Summer Bay Bunyan. And maybe even Easterfield. What else do I have? And for World units, I guess there's McCrory or Canon Tangaroa. But yeah, it's not really that great. I was thinking that maybe you could just use Summer Oz and be done with it, but I think Confusion is just sort of a weird status that's better for the enemies to apply in you, because you care more about this 1k flat damage or moving only in a vertical column because you have decreased horizontal movement. And the other one was Ulan Batar, because he actually cares about nullify debuff, but he already gets it in his kit, so it's not really that important. So yeah, kind of a lame AR overall. The restrictions are kind of and Confusion is just kind of not really that important when I don't think people have been using Fear recently that much. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Any thoughts, Irby? Zelgus?
It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, actually. It's a pretty bad AR. It's a pretty bad AR. Okay.
Hey.
I can't say it's okay.
One thing. Unlike all the other ARs, this one immediately works even with one copy. So, it's not shit. It was one copy at least.
Yes. I guess. I guess that is true. But also, it's some pretty mediocre effects are being applied here. And it also seems very underwhelming in comparison to all the other ARs, because all the other ARs we talked about increased damage output. This one doesn't, directly at least, because Confusion is only after attacking too, so you can't even exploit it with Balor or something like that.
I remember discussing with Yara about how the nullified debuff effect could be decent, and then we compared it to the Dagon Triton reflect debuff one, but I just realized the problem is that one is phase start, and this one is on move, and sometimes the phase start to reflect can be important, since, it will apply before say the enemy inflicts some board-wide shite on you. So that's another strike against this, that the after movie nullified debuff is kind of shit. It's like crap trigger timing.
I mean, at that point, you could also just
at least
say
the R's cute.
The what's it called, the FKRA AR that applies nullified debuff on appearance, because that would even preempt the Triton AR.
Yeah, that would be better. Well, I forgot about that one. I only remembered the Dagon Triton one because that's the one we were talking about at the time.
Well, what's it called? I think nullify debuff, being able to apply it 3 times is nice in terms of if they just have constant upkeep of debuffs. And you can kind of overlap them with just the debuff mitigation team in general for something that has reflect debuff as well, so they can stack both reflect debuff and nullify debuff. And in that sense, it makes you a lot more robust, at least for the first 3 turns. And it is a pretty higher rate, 80%, unlike the Triton Dagon one, which is like only 50% with 1 copy.
Correct.
Just be Irby, who has all copies.
Okay.
Yes, easy. 100% reflect debuff on phase start.
Do you have to say 100?
Yes.
Wow.
Why?
Because it has both its favorites. I don't know. It was the time when ARs were actually like super spicy before. But yeah, I do think Confusion. It's the only reason it's like special is because Babe Bunny can take advantage of a different column besides his own now. But other than that, it's just kind of like what Milk applied, just a bonus that doesn't really do anything.
Oh. Well, Summer Babe Bunny is actually weirder because it's after attacking, so you have to like...
I mean, he already applies Confusion to his column, right?
Column.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, you have to apply Confusion to your column, and then hope that the AR gives Confusion to the left and right, and then clear the other columns that way.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you would use them, but generally you'd be using Babe Bunny for turn 1 clears anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an option if you really are scraping by 4 column clears and you don't mind doing an extra turn and rolling for 40% every time. So it's the best case scenario, honestly. Yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts for this AR. You guys have given all your thoughts too, right? So.
Oh, actually, I do have one more thought. This AR is drawn by a new artist, Shuka Pong. So people who like him can rejoice from the fact that he's in Housamo now. I don't particularly care for his art, but I know that people like him.
I've heard of the name before, but I can't even remember what else he did. But anyway, if that's it, feel free to read out the comments. Milk.
This AR wouldn't leave me alone. I just want the other one. I don't know. Cait keeps losing. The classic Toy Tez and Cait combo. LW really like huh? Kitty. Okay, that's it.
Of course. Alright, and for the moment you've been waiting for, we will now be covering the very last AR. This will be covered by Irby. Go ahead.
Finally, the AR that doesn't even work properly. Right. This AR was supposedly going to be the best AR of the batch. From the bench. Because it has 2 methods of increasing your damage output. It has an effect that gives you a buff, an irremovable buff, every turn start at an 80%. That buff gets stronger the higher your CP is. So if it's very low, it only gives you 1.3, and if it's at the maximum, it should give you 2 times multiplier on a near removable buff. Unfortunately, this seems to not be working at all, even despite the corrections that they allegedly made on Thursday. So this AR currently does not work for the 100 CP condition. However, it's a pretty good effect. It's a straight up double damage to everyone that is at 100 CP. And even though it's only 80%, it's still pretty good. It also can be used with units that just straight up start with 100 CP, and it can also be joined with other stuff like the Furry AR that applies CS lock to keep them at 100 CP, so they can always have this damage buff somehow. There are a lot of units that can benefit from this, and on top of this, if you don't want to keep your units at 100 CP, you also get an even bigger damage boost by increasing the CS damage multiplier by 2. So this is supposedly a really good AR for regular Shiva for obvious reasons, because the buff is irremovable, so it's just going to double his damage. And even though it's not going to affect much, it's still going to give a +2 CS damage multiplier. His CS multiplier is already 10, so it's not going to be a big boost from that department, but it's still there. There's other units that can be pretty good with this AR. Valentine Balor is one of them, since he already starts with a large amount of CP and generates a bunch of CP every turn, always CSing, so that's also an option. There's also Jiangxi Tech 12 that can also equip it. He has after buff CP increase, which allows him to stay topped up on CP a bunch of times. Other units also include Christmas Zhurong that also starts with 100 CP, and you can actually keep him at 100 CP without any external units. If you can just keep him in place, you'll always have that ×2 damage multiplier, I guess. There's also Valentine Snow that also starts with 100 CP that can also use this AR and also has a really good CP generation rate. So he's actually a pretty good user of this. And I didn't mention Summer Shiva, but he's also pretty good because he generates CP very fast, and you can also lock his CS on his own, so you can also lock his own CS. So that's pretty nice. He's only just not going to take advantage of that damage boost, of the entire damage boost on the first turn, fortunately. But by the second turn, he's already going to be at 100 anyways. There are other units that can benefit from this, but are pretty niche. But I guess you can use it with Make Say Leaf Read that starts with almost full CP. The only problem is that he also starts with CS lock, but there's plenty of ways to get around that. Other units, there's also another unit that you could possibly use this with, which is Valentine's Gunzo. If you're somehow milk and trying to do those CS CP generation memes with him, this can also be equipped with Jormungandr 3, which you probably shouldn't be using, but the option is there. So yeah, there's a lot of decent units, that some that I probably didn't talk about. These were just the ones that struck me the most useful, at least to have this AR if it was working. Besides that, it also has a decent amount of attack on its own. Unfortunately it's shared with HP, but fortunately the higher value is actually the attack. So it's a pretty good damage boosting AR if it was working. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this.
Okay. Any other thoughts then, Milk, Stelgas?
It's good on Valentine's Balor and the Farming Quest, because even if this AR isn't working at CP equals 100, the damage buff that Valentine Balor gets from it is pretty fucking stupid when he's already a good damage dealer.
Yeah, it feels like it's redundant, and then it just makes it so much more painful. It's like I'm bringing Balor with this AR, and they do so much damage, and an Arc, meanwhile, can't even clear their column after I fully attack seeded them, like doing less than 10k damage, and then Balor is like casually doing like 100k, not even on charge, like life and risk. Where's the justice?
Yeah. What else is there? Also, 2 times attack damage on like CP equals 100 is stupid if it gets in. Like, that's just like really stupid, I think. Like, why? you already get a damage boost from CS, and now we have this AR that even doubles damage. Also, why is LW trying to push Shiva strats? I hate it. I mean,
Love
like,
it.
Like Shiva strat. Do they like not know that Shiva strat exists? It's just like so awful. Like I know like they're like I know that like the Shiva strats don't care about the +2 because of like the +2 to the CS because Shiva
it's
has,
plus
like,
10 and it doesn't really add as much.
like,
Yeah.
10, yeah. Like, why are you trying to double Shiva strat damage? This is so awful.
I would like to think that Life Wonders does pay some attention to like community strats and whatnot, but yeah, I don't actually know.
Well,
Like,
they
I
did
feel
pay
like-
attention to that stupid CP laddering meme, but you know, after the banner is printed, of course, with every Agutsuchi. Still salty about that.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're thinking. Like, doubling Shiva damage. So bad.
I mean, it's just Shiva damage in the end. It's only going to be the double of 10k, which is like only 20k, compared to a lot of board white charges, which, you know, is a lot more with the proper buffs. Meanwhile, Shivas can't be buffed really any other way for that. Plus, you're sacrificing, you know, and like an AR, some kind of booster AR at that point too. So it's
Yeah, Fushi, and it's flat damage, so it's a good strategy. I think it was kind of needed if they are going this path of releasing units with a lot of HP, which they haven't actually really, but they did just release Christmas Fushi, so maybe this is to increase the damage ceiling even higher. I don't know. Maybe they're planning on increasing the HP pool of enemies, but even though I'm pretty sure they aren't.
Yeah, it's blow and thrust, so it's kind of also frustrating that it's pretty much like Shiva and Valen Balor that like it the most. Well, regular Balor likes it as well.
Well, I think Snow is pretty decent, but who uses Valentine Snow anyways?
yeah, there's quite a few units.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you guys probably mentioned Jirong. There's Jumbo one too,
Summer
actually.
Tigray.
He doesn't exist now. But there's
Yeah,
Nightmare Jambavon.
he's
He
not
has
real.
that thing where he gets his charge super fast, at least according to Mura. And, you know, Gunzo and Wakan also get their charges very fast too. It won't be like board wide necessarily, but you know, you could do some magic with that, I'm sure. Milk, there's Durga and Eita who both get their charge fast. There's Gangle who starts with like very close to 100 CP. There's quite a few units that just makes essentially any.
Oh, you mean the Desert Journey Gangly?
Yeah, Desert Journey Gangly. Like,
You say
think I've ever-
Tigray
Is it
doesn't
real?
exist, but then you talk about Summer Gangly.
does Tigray start with CP?
What?
No, but he generates his extremely fast. That's the entire point. He spams his CS like every 2 to 3 turns.
Gangly starts with
Tigray,
80
like
CP
the-
instantly.
Which Tigray? The
Virtual
regular
Summer Memory
4-star?
one.
The variant
Oh,
one.
The gut spam
Yeah.
taunt one.
Yeah, we're not talking about the wood one, right?
No,
The,
no.
the wood one that you put in
Yeah, the
shit meme territory in your tier list.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm thinking of the Warmonger skill where he decreases enemy CP. Yeah, I think that.
No,
might be what
I'm talking about
thinking
virtual summon memory.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few units who would benefit from this that aren't necessarily board wipers. I wouldn't use them because they're not board wipers, but they're there. There's Horus, there's Kengo, there's Oniwaka, there's Festival Ryota, there's Tajikaro. There's a lot. But yeah.
I forgot what
You're
this
not using
AR
Festival Ryota on. You're not using this AR on Festival Ryota. Yeah.
I mean, he technically does get CP fast too, and so it's a thing.
Yeah, no, it's not happening.
I forgot the real reason we got this AR is because the next Blossom farming quest is going to have a world unit or multiple world units, and Shiva deals reduced damage to it. That's why we're getting this AR. This is the real big brain strat.
Why does Shiva keep on getting these direct and indirect buffs? It's not fair.
Well, blame LW and whoever decided to make the Valentine Fantasy reprint AR banner have 2 Shiva ARs out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's not even in
Valentine,
Valentine Fantasy.
and it's got none. We did it.
I don't think he even appears in the event. Like, it's not even a boost unit, is he?
I'm pretty sure Shiva is just here because
Balor. Yeah.
I
no excuse with Heracles, but at least he has something with Balor.
No, but he is with Heracles, but I guess Heracles was from Time Slip. I guess that's why.
Okay.
That's a
I get.
But the one that makes the least sense is still Hekate and Kuniyoshi because they have nothing in common with Valentine's. It's really just a throwaway AR.
That's why they got a shit AR.
Of course, it all makes sense now.
It'd actually be deserving of like a 1-star AR effect or a 2-star AR effect at that point. It's not even as good as a 3-star AR.
I think our 1-star AR effect was better, wasn't it? Like CP.
On arrival, yeah. It was like 20
yeah.
or something, so it was actually useful unlike this. Anyway, you can read out the comments now. The last section, of course. Irby, go ahead.
Where were we?
My rightful spot.
Okay, my rightful spot is between Balor and Shiva as they press their bodies together. I mean, I love the CS animation of this AR, so cool. Daddies, I know it's for fan service, but for real, why are they fighting in a river? Are they training? Is related to Summer Shiva? The hell is happening in here? I'm pretty sure they're like kind of rivals who like fighting one another. And
yeah, from the story, they had apparently Shiva likes Balor relationship-wise, so that's probably because he just likes their battles with each other.
Yeah, they just like fighting with each other, and that makes sense. Refreshing spar after rubbing each other down. Thank you, Ara, for the insightful comment.
Certified Ara comment.
I think I got like 3 mil, or maybe it was 300k on CS. I'm too lazy to double check. I'm assuming this is from Valentine Balor. This AR is preparation for Chapter 14 farming, where Shiva needs more damage for those Tier 3 Blossom missions. Of course, it's going to have world enemies. We need this damage boost. Nerd emoji.
Just like
Love running Shiva and Summer Shiva boarding wiping strats. What was that?
Nerd emoji, just like the channel name we're in.
We did it. No, now I need to know how many ARs Kuniyoshi is ungracefully gracing. I'm pretty sure that Arc already has more ARs than him.
Possibly.
And Ben 10 as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't really remember Kuniyoshi having too much, but I just mostly remember that Kuniyoshi kind of cucked a lot of other people from either getting the icon or getting like an AR at all.
I think people just don't like Kuniyoshi that much when he appears, that it feels like it's too much.
I'm in this picture and I don't like it.
No! You can't just say the truth.
The truth needs to be said.
He's in 6. He needs to stop. No, he needs to stop.
Alright, and we are about to stop. Thank you, Irby, for reading out the comments. We will now just head to the final scene and give our overall thoughts on this event. What do you guys think? New Year's as well as Valentine Fantasy. How are you feeling about this period?
Valentine's does not need to last for 4 weeks.
Yes. It's not even 4 weeks, it's 8 weeks if you count the new Valentine's events. Then that week is surely coming after this.
I mean, I'm fine with a new event lasting. Well, not really. I'd rather it last like 3 weeks. But new event, 4 weeks, lasts sure, whatever. Yeah, rerun, no.
I mean, I guess the excuse is they gave a bunch of special quests being released at the same time for every single other Valentine quest. So apparently, some people that were starting saw like 100 quests in the event quest page, which was kind of funny, but also pretty bad practice. I hope that doesn't take too long for them to load it.
Was it a loading thing where, like, if you get like 100 quests, that it takes a long time for like the folder to open?
Yeah, I remember that was the case from before, but I haven't seen it in a long time ever since the updates.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. Yeah. What do I think? Yeah, 4 weeks is long. I'm kind of surprised that they reran Valentine Fantasy at all, to be honest. Like, I felt like Christmas events and Valentine events were sort of like dead in the water for reruns. So this is kind of surprising, especially since everybody else is predicting, like, I don't know, was it Onsen, Hell Onsen?
Hell Hot Spring, yeah.
Nightglows.
I mean, it's because in the previous 2 years, during this, between New Year's and Valentine's, we did get a festival reprint of some kind. This one is just Valentine's, which we haven't had a Valentine's reprint in such a long time. They usually just bundle the story with the current event and call it a day.
Yeah. Helpful for those who didn't max the Kuma AR, though.
I actually didn't max it, so I was glad they added it.
That was me too. I was still missing 2 copies.
Yeah, I was missing 1 copy. It's like the best 3-star AR ever, unlike the worst AR that we just covered today, so... But yeah, that AR is so fucking busted. At least if you're talking about tank setups.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful. What else is there? The event story is pretty good. I liked it. The special quests are pretty nice as well. I didn't read, like, the translation of, like, Itzavnos the first time around, so I was kind of surprised when I read it this time.
I'm interested because a lot of people are saying a lot of them are horny, and I do like my horny stories, but yeah.
And apparently, to fill this 4-week gap, we have Citri date quest out of nowhere.
We did it! What everyone was waiting for.
And like some character quests as well.
Are they even going to be translated? Probably not.
No, character quests and date quests, never. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I feel like some of them are translated, right? Like leaks and something, but then that was like a one-time thing, and that was it.
Really? There's a translated character quest? I'm surprised.
I think like the very first ones, weren't they? Am I imagining things? Maybe I'm imagining things.
I think you are imagining things.
It's been so
long.
long.
I would have read it translated like Shiro character quest, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But they don't translate those. Character quests are like really long too, so yeah.
Yeah, it's always the last priority for Life Wonders. Although they should get to it because it's one of their main advertising platforms. But then again, if they get to that, then they'll be stuck with fucking campaigns and date quest, banners for the next year. So it's a catch-22. As for this event, I like the fact that there was skill and level seeds in the shop. That's brand new. I hope they keep that trend going forward rather than ending it like they did with like the missions in Christmas. That was a sad ending of tradition. And I'm looking forward to reading the story. I'll be doing that this tomorrow, actually, so this Monday. And 4 weeks is kind of long, but I don't mind because, Housamo takes up too much of my time anyways. So the more they stretch it out, the more free time I have after I'm done everything else. But yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts. Well, if that's it from everyone else.
At least it's a high quality banner.
What?
Oh yeah.
At least it's a high quality banner.
You mean the reprint?
Balor and Valentine's. Yeah, as in Valentine's Fantasy is a good banner.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they gave Arc an Evo, but it's still generally good. I did think
Didn't they just rerun this at the anniversary? So getting 2 reruns in a row basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice having this so recently translated. I wish they do that for all events, but yeah, I was playing the the re-release challenge quests was nice because they still had some difficulty and bite to them, even though it was like just already printed. It was only a year old by that point, so I actually did lose the last one once before I cleared it. But yeah, overall, a bit sluggish, but I'm fine with it.
A bit disappointed that we're not getting all the date quests during this time, but it's okay, I guess. I would have preferred to get it done with so we could have room for more new events and reprints and stuff like that, but I guess that's not going to happen anytime soon.
It's so weird that the proper
the grab
Valentine's
bag
Day-
mishap.
Sorry?
Oh right, the grab bag mishap this year was pretty great.
Oh yeah, New Year's. Unfortunately, I got shit pulls both times, but apparently you and Harvey got amazing pulls. 2 different 5 stars on each one. Shit's unfair. Where's my Jurong? Why do you get... Shit's unfair. I hate that. Fucking Yasuyori and... what's Ashigara?
Yeah, the other Christmas CS lock user who starts with like 100 CP.
If and whenever they get their stories translated, they better come out with some evos. Especially Dead. For that stupid order that's not guaranteed, except after you move them or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, the acceleration
Christmas Dead.
streak that he needs.
Summer Christmas Dead will never get a skill evolution, unfortunately. The only fully seated unit that I have that will never see any use in light of day. Rest in peace.
Still used for
Oh
dungeon
yeah,
runs,
you're
but-
still working on Taishakuten, right? Yeah.
It's the burn advantage at 1.5 multiplier. Wow.
Yeah, not great, especially when Shiva has like 5 times advantage. It's dumb. Yeah. Alright, if that's it, I'm gonna go read the comments. 1 month and a half of Valentine's. Housamo reprint events. Lasts a month. Every other gacha game. It's 2 weeks. We've had some short reprints before, but this is a very, very obvious sign from my funders that they're just stalling for time because they're not on top of making new events to fill in the space. They could have easily fit 2 reprints here, but, you know, they're feeling slackish, which, you know, I'm feeling
Oh
slackish. so
right,
I'll give
I
them a break.
forgot to say something.
What's up?
Forgot to say something. They actually implemented the win condition for the reprint high difficulty quests. I can't believe they've done this.
Oh yeah, it was Boogeyman, right?
Yeah, the last reprints they didn't do this. Like the New Year's quests, it didn't have the condition to kill only the tigers, and the Fashionista reprint also didn't have any.
Had nothing.
skills. It had nothing. So
Yeah. I guess they're
this
getting
is-
on top
wow,
of the
we
game
got a
now, maybe.
reprint with things implemented. We did it.
At least they got the music in New Year's this time. Unlike Fashionista, where there was default battle.ogg music.
It's a fan favorite.
Piece.
It's very important to play it again. Alright, moving on. Oh, you returned and the stream is almost over. Yep, that's classic. Every gacha is like 2 weeks. Hey Joe, the changes to farming bonuses released Creed over Valentine Ketchi, but there's no reason to use him over Valentine Itsama if you have both. I do wish Valentine Ketchi got an Evo too, because his buff range is just not useful for tall maps. He's supposed to be used for tall map grinding, but his phase start positioning along with his lack of movement really does hurt him. Makes him not reliable for that first phase at all. Glad I can at least save for the new year, for the new Valentine's event banner. Hope Mephistopheles and Tamtam will show up on it. Well, very likely some Jiro or some kind of Hakenshi will show up, because it's just tradition, but who's to say? Also, I don't have that much stayed up for Valentine's, so I'm not looking forward to it too much, but besides not getting Jurong, there's not really any super big favorites, so I doubt I'll care much if I don't get too much from the coming Valentine's banner. Hello and great stream. I'll have to go. Thanks everyone for the stream. Thanks for seeing us through till the end, Gazer. See you later and beyond. Thanks stream again. You guys, see you tomorrow. Hey, yeah, see you tomorrow. I look forward to that story. I should probably do some vocal practice for Boogeyman's voice. When I look at the character, it's like I imagine him having a different voice from how he actually sounds, so I'm gonna need to get that mental discrepancy figured out. Which they wouldn't open the coin or blossom dungeon. They would have opened it. Yeah, it would have been good for a reprint like this. Christmas always being forgotten when it comes to translations, sadly. I do feel especially bad for you hidden with Mystic Christmas, but yeah, it's not even just Mystic Christmas anymore. It's such a meme now, but even Sunshine Christmas is getting the shap. It's like Itzamna getting his variant translated before his base. It's like ridiculous.
It's okay. Virtual Summer Memory is also just a memory now.
Oh yeah, that thing too. That's even older than Mystic, isn't it? Yeah, it's terrible. Give me Mystic Christmas translation and Bent Already Life Wonders. At this point, I don't care if it's a proper reprint. They should just give us the stories translated without like a full event at this point. I got Valentine Arc 5 times. That is unfortunate.
That's good because their AR is very strong. They have Ardor and a all-range CS. You're gonna blow up the board with that.
Valentine Arc?
Yeah, Valentine Arc has an all-range CS that gives Ardor to self, inflicts burn and conflagration.
Oh, I mean, I guess.
Well, technically it's blow range, but they changed their CS range.
I mean, it's okay, but just use Balor or something. I'm sure he was aiming for Balor, and there's better board wipers than Arc. Got Shiva on grab bag pull 1. Got a complete Ikebukuro Christmas banner on pull number 2. Congratulations. Can you get Summer Shiva right now? Oh, that's just a grab bag. Why am I stuck with grapples? The only good grab bag I ever got was for like Wakan Tanka Mugen, and even then he's not exactly the most amazing unit. This grind quest is so annoying. I hate this event kinda. Nah, I feel ya. Valentine Shino dupe and Zhao 5 for grab bag. In the very least, okay, the Valentine Shino thing is kinda shit, but you know, Zhao is like.
How dare you?
It's the truth, I'm sorry. Zhao 5 is like the only limited 5-star in that banner, I think, so that's pretty nice to get. For Historica, first time event lasts a month and a half. Rerun lasts a month. I'm close for 1 multiple. Let me voice him. That's not happening. No, I was not pulling for Balor Lizard rules. Oh, you're pulling for Itzamna, I see. That's even worse if you didn't get him all the time. I'm not using Zhao. I mean, he's cute, but I can get why people don't like him because he does have that attitude issue. Grab bag, more like grab your money. I mean, yeah, both's fine. I think about it this way. I'm not exactly someone who buys games super often, so I think of it as like, you know what, I've been playing this game all year. Let's just like repurchase it and also redeem ourselves for a free grab bag. Imagine not getting the unit you want. Anyway, that's it for this discussion stream. Thank you everyone in chat for joining us, and of course, thank you again, buddies in discussion, Herbie, Zelgus, and Moke. We'll be closing it off. Tomorrow I'll be doing a stream of the Valentine story, so look forward to that. And that's pretty much the content that will be happening for tomorrow, the day after, as well as next week's Monday and Tuesday. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So happy grinding, have a good Valentine's month, day, whatever, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Alright, on 3 everyone. 1, 2, 3. I only heard 2 of you. Herbie, where are you?
What's here? Bye.
There you are. Okay, bye-bye.